Chapter 144. Seeing that Qin Gang and the others had landed on the peak of Yujing Mountain, Xiao Yan and his fellow disciples' faces darkened. Zhu Yi said in a low voice, "The enemy's magic weapon is powerful. Master is in seclusion and no one is in charge of the spell formation. Now that the enemy has invaded the mountain, the situation is terrible." Xiao Budian's little face was also full of seriousness. He rolled his eyes and said, "That mysterious sky treasure tree looks very powerful. Let's lure the enemy to attack the tree and let it take care of them." Zhu Yi pondered for a moment. "We don't know how powerful the mysterious sky treasure tree is. Everything is just a guess. If we fail, we might hurt the tree instead. Rely on yourself." Xiao Yan spat out the grass in his mouth. "Master is in seclusion in the heavenly grotto. It's best not to disturb him." Wang Lin nodded silently. Zhu Yi took a deep breath and said, "The enemy is very powerful. We must be careful." "Fei Lian. So you killed my disciple Gao Long." While the four were discussing, Taoist Master Lai Feng's scolding suddenly reached their ears. The Fei Lian beast, who was lying under the mysterious sky treasure tree, trembled. Seeing Taoist Master Lai Feng, it immediately became energetic and wanted to run over. But before it could move, the Fei Lian beast revealed an embarrassed look and stole a glance at Xiao Budian and the other three. In order to please its new master, it had used a spell to attack Gao Fan, who was also from the Wind God sect. If Xiao Budian and the others revealed this, it would be in big trouble. Especially since Gao Fan was only captured by Lin Feng. She was not dead yet. Taoist Master Lai Feng's face was full of anger, but he was actually very calm. His anger was all faked. Seeing that Taishu Temple and Mount Shu Sword sect had their eyes on the cave abode on Yujing Mountain, he knew that his sect did not have much hope. But Yujing Mountain was in the territory of Kunlun Mountain, at the doorstep of the Wind God sect. Taoist Master Lai Feng was not willing to give up just like that. Taishu Temple and Mount Shu Sword sect are fighting. The Wind God sect may still have a chance. Thinking up to this point, Sage Lai Feng decided to take action decisively and participate in the battle against Lin Feng. He could not be marginalized by Qin Gang and Lu Yang. He had contributed to this battle, so even if he couldn't obtain the abode in Jade Capital Mountain, the Holy Land that obtained the abode in the end would have to compensate him. Otherwise, it would seem petty and lose the grandeur of a holy land of cultivation. Sage Lai Feng turned to look at Qin Gang and the others. "My most beloved personal disciple died at their hands. I must avenge him." Although the Fire Crow Demon Commander had ascended Yujing Mountain, he knew his own strength and status, so he did not say a word. Qin Gang and Lu Yang looked at each other and smiled. How could they not see through Sage Lai Feng's thoughts? However, Mount Yujing was located in the Kunlun mountain range. In the future, when they occupied this cave, they would have to deal with the local tyrant, the Wind God sect. Therefore, Qin Gang and Qin Qian did not mind giving Taoist Master Lai Feng a favor. Lu Yang impatiently waved his hand. "I only want that bastard Lin's life. I don't care about the others." Qin Gang smiled and pointed at Xiao Budian and Zhu Yi with his index finger. "I still have use for that child and that green-robed scholar. Don't hurt them. You can do whatever you want with the other two." Xiao Yan raised his eyebrows and sneered. He did not say anything, but the mana around his body began to circulate. Clearly, he was ready for battle. Sage Lai Feng glanced at him and coldly snorted. Reckless Jr. He knew that Qin Gang and Lu Yang had already tacitly agreed to his actions. Sage Lai Feng immediately relaxed. He formed a seal with one hand and opened his mouth to spit out more than 10 rays of green light. These rays of green light landed according to a specific pattern and position, instantly forming a formation. It was the shattering hurricane formation that Gao Long had used before. However, compared to Gao Long, who needed to use the green magic flags to form a formation, Sage Lai Feng was clearly much more powerful. He used his own mana to form a large formation. Moreover, the power of his shattering hurricane formation was also far greater than Gao Long's. A huge black tornado rose from the center of the formation. It rose straight up into the sky like a huge black dragon. The black tornado howled and pounced towards Xiao Yan and the others, wanting to dismember them into 10,000 pieces. Although Xiao Yan, Zhu Yi, and Xiao Budian were already at the foundation establishment stage, they still felt great pressure when facing a cultivator of the Golden Elixir period who was an entire realm higher than them. Let's work together to face the enemy. Don't fight on your own. Zhu Yi's eyes flickered. He had already calmly decided on a strategy. Eldest senior brother will defend the first wave of attacks from the front. I'll support you. Junior brother, don't worry about anything. Prepare your unlimited wind and thunder and increase its power as much as possible. The higher the better. We need to rely on you to counterattack. Third junior brother is fighting on the periphery. Look for an opportunity and help junior brother when he makes his move. Wang Lin glanced at Zhu Yi. He did not say anything and only nodded heavily. Xiao Yan clenched his fists and chuckled. Come. The 8 trigrams disintegration spell was performed. Its power was not released outwards. Instead, it was used to dispel external demons and set up a barrier in front of him. The power of disintegration and destruction shook layer by layer. From afar, the space in front of Xiao Yan was a blur. Given his character, he did not like to defend passively. However, now that he was facing a strong enemy of the Golden Elixir period, Xiao Yan did not dare to be careless. He chose to trust his junior brothers and chose to use his own body to resist the enemy's strongest first wave of attacks. The black tornado crashed into Xiao Yan's 8 trigrams disintegration and was continuously disintegrated by the power of disintegration. Chen Gang and the others were slightly shocked. What kind of spell is this? An early foundation establishment cultivator can actually resist the attack of an early Golden Elixir period cultivator? Venerable Lai Feng could no longer maintain his composure. With a muffled grunt, the demon-shattering hurricane formation's power kept increasing. Although the violent tornado was continuously disintegrated by the 8 trigrams disintegration, Venerable Lai Feng's magic power was much stronger than Xiao Yan's. The black wind attacked Xiao Yan with an even more ferocious momentum. Xiao Yan did not make a sound. His feet were nailed to the ground and he refused to move. His whole body was pushed back by the tornado. However, he did not fall and forcibly withstood Venerable Lai Feng's attacks. Behind him, Xiao Budian had a serious expression. The surging magic power had already turned into a huge cycle above his head. On one side, lightning swept up the tornado, while on the other side, violent winds shrouded the thunderclouds. The two sides were clearly separated and did not interfere with each other. However, these two powers were like a natural Taiji diagram. The yin and yang rotated and merged into one. Wind and thunder yin-yang, infinite transformations. Under the effect of the cycle, wind and thunder surged. The power of both sides increased at an astonishing speed. The momentum of their growth seemed endless. Venerable Lai Feng had already noticed Xiao Budian's infinite wind and thunder magic. He secretly clicked his tongue. From the looks of it, the power of this magic can be increased without limit. It can even be increased to the point where he can't control it at all with his foundation establishment cultivation. However, it can still harm me during my Golden Elixir period. Thinking of this, Venerable Lai Feng immediately lost his composure. While activating the demon-shattering hurricane formation to break through Xiao Yan's 8 trigrams disintegration, he took out his own magic tool, the rainbow feather fan, and fanned it at Xiao Budian. Immediately, a light wind that flickered with a 7-colored halo attacked Xiao Budian. Zhu Yi had long been paying attention to Venerable Lai Feng's movements. Seeing this, he immediately swung his sword twice. One was the Kuan sword of heaven, and the other was the Qian sword of heaven. Up to heaven, down to heaven, Tai hexagram, small to big, auspicious, hang. Tai, stability. Heaven and earth intersect. All living things are connected. Upper and lower intersect. Inner yang and outer yin. Inner strong and outer docile. Gentleman on the inside and villain on the outside. A gentleman's Tao is long, but a villain's Tao is short. Zhu Yi's Tai trigram sword of heaven immediately dissolved Venerable Lai Feng's seemingly honorable, but actually sinister and sneaky seven-colored wind. At this time, Xiao Budian's infinite wind and thunder had already been prepared. If he continued to increase his power, it would no longer be a problem of being unable to control it. Instead, it would be a problem of a backlash. Zhu Yi and Xiao Yan had bought him enough time. The little guy glared at Venerable Lai Feng and shouted, "Go!" The roaring and surging wind and thunder immediately surged towards Venerable Lai Feng. Venerable Lai Feng was somewhat angry out of humiliation. He suddenly clasped his palms together and released a formless, colorless, and completely transparent astral wind. 9 heavens formless astral wind. The seemingly non-existent astral wind that could destroy anything in its path immediately cut apart the rolling wind and thunder. The 9 heavens formless astral wind did not stop there. It hacked towards Xiao Yan. Zhu Yi's figure flashed. He arrived at Xiao Yan's side and released 2 more sword strikes. There's a mountain in the world, escape. With the escape sword technique, he brought himself and Xiao Yan far away, narrowly avoiding the 9 heavens formless astral wind. Meanwhile, Wang Lin, who previously did not have the slightest sense of existence and only had the cultivation of the 5th level of Qi disciple, suddenly made his move. Chapter 145. Wang Lin suddenly made a move and pointed a finger at spiritual master Lai Feng. It was still the finger of extinction. With Wang Lin's current cultivation, he could only use the power of one finger. However, the finger of extinction this time was different from before. It no longer created a space of death aura with a circumference of 3 meters. The aura of death was compressed again and again by Wang Lin until it was only an inch in length, width, and height. Wang Lin was well aware of the gap between his and spiritual master Lai Feng's cultivation. He did not even hope to injure the enemy with this finger, but only to disturb spiritual master Lai Feng. Spiritual master Lai Feng was in the middle of using his technique to control the 9 heavens formless astral wind. Suddenly, the tip of his right index finger was wrapped by an inch-wide black cube. The intense aura of death crazily eroded spiritual master Lai Feng's right index finger. That rich power of extinction was concentrated on a small point and exploded. Spiritual master Lai Feng, who was caught off guard, discovered that his body of a golden elixir period cultivator could not resist this power. He snorted coldly and circulated his magic power, dispersing the power of Wang Lin's finger of extinction. However, his control of the 9 heavens formless astral wind was inevitably affected. This effect only lasted for a short moment, but Xiao Budian had already used this time to strengthen himself with wind and thunder, pouncing in front of spiritual master Lai Feng like lightning. Spiritual master Lai Feng was a little amused. He waved his left hand at Xiao Budian as if he was chasing away a fly. In his opinion, although he did not cultivate his body, he was still a golden elixir period cultivator. Xiao Budian was only a child, so how strong could his body be? It would not matter even if he got close to him. However, in the next second, spiritual master Lai Feng realized that he was wrong, ridiculously wrong. Xiao Budian laughed mischievously. A heavy punch wrapped in wind and thunder directly blasted away spiritual master Lai Feng's arm. If not for the golden elixir period cultivator's magic power automatically circulating to protect his body, spiritual master Lai Feng's arm would have been broken by Xiao Budian's punch. However, this was already unavoidable. Xiao Budian's punch landed on his face, sending him flying backwards. Although Xiao Budian was also sent flying backwards by spiritual master Lai Feng's magic power, spiritual master Lai Feng had lost all his face this time. The Fire Crow Demon Commander and Lu Yang both laughed gloatingly, while Chen Gang shook his head and sighed. Spiritual master Lai Feng stared blankly for a moment. He was so ashamed that he wanted to die. He stared at the little guy's group of 4 with eyes that seemed as if they were about to spit out flames. "We gave you a chance, but you couldn't take it. Don't blame us." Lu Yang sneered as he stepped forward. 3 foundation establishment cultivators and 1 qi condensation cultivator almost caused a golden elixir period cultivator to fail miserably. To be honest, this is quite unexpected. However, that's enough playing around. All of you, get out of my way. Let that Lin bastard come out. How long is he going to hide like a turtle? Xiao Yan raised his eyebrows and sneered, watch your mouth. Do you have such a big grudge against my master? Looks like you've suffered quite a bit in the hands of my master. Lu Yang was instantly enraged. That bullshit master of yours is just a qi refinement stage trash. If he didn't scheme against me, I would have chopped off his dog head long ago. Qi condensation stage. Xiao Yan's group of 4 looked at each other with strange expressions. Chen Gang faintly smiled. Perhaps he isn't at the qi condensation stage anymore, but his cultivation shouldn't be higher than the early foundation establishment stage. He looked at Xiao Yan's group of 4 and slowly said, in other words, your so-called master's cultivation is at most the same as yours. It's just that he's a bit better at playing tricks. You're all young and shallow. Being deceived by him isn't strange at all. Chen Gang smiled and said, however, it's still not too late. You all still have a chance to save yourselves. Chen Gang's gaze first fell on the little guy's body. His gaze also flashed with a hint of amazement. As expected, to be able to successfully reach foundation establishment at such a young age, your talent is indeed outstanding. With talent like yours, you should enter my Taishu temple. You'll have a bright future and a limitless future. Taking anyone else as your master is burying your talent. Only the Taishu temple can give you the guidance you deserve. He then looked at Zhu Yi and sighed. To be able to successfully reach foundation establishment in less than 2 years, you're worthy of being the son of Marshal Ant Meng Bingyun. Zhu Hongwu really made a mistake. A wanderer has returned to his hometown. You should also return to Taishu temple. That is your mother's sect, so it should also be your sect. As for the 2 of you. Chen Gang swept his gaze over Xiao Yan and Wang Lin. One is brave and unwavering, the other is calm and collected. Their willpower is also passable. They can also follow me back to the mountain. If they can pass the test, they will also have the opportunity to enter my Taishu temple. Wang Lin was silent, but his expression clearly didn't show that he was tempted. Xiao Yan stared at Chen Gang for a while. After a long time he chuckled. I say, you're constantly talking to yourself over there. Don't you think you're a bit too good about yourself? If the Xiao Yan back in Wuzhou City heard that he had a chance to enter Taishu Temple, he would definitely be overjoyed. But right now, Taishu Temple already doesn't hold any attraction for Xiao Yan. On the contrary, it's Chen Gang's expression of being a cut above others like he's giving charity that makes Xiao Yan extremely unhappy. Chen Gang heard Xiao Yan's rhetorical question and smiled, looking like he couldn't be bothered to answer. He no longer paid attention to Xiao Yan and Wang Lin, his gaze turning to Zhu Yi. Zhu Yi calmly met his gaze. I only ask one thing. When my mother passed away, where were you? Chen Gang sighed lightly and looked at the little guy again. Ha! The little guy directly rubbed his eyes and made a face at him. Chen Gang chuckled and said, stubborn, then there's nothing I can do. Finished speaking, he raised his hand and lightly pointed. Over 100 rays of light suddenly appeared in disorder, interweaving into a huge cage in the air, trapping Xiao Yan and the others inside. Heaven Cage Sigil. Xiao Yan was slightly startled. He raised his hand and punched. The power of the 8 trigrams collapse bombarded one of the bars of the light prison. The bars formed from flowing light twisted, almost about to shatter. Chen Gang smiled, his left hand forming a spell sign. Under the infusion of mana, the bars of the light prison quickly returned to their original state. Even though the power of Xiao Yan's 8 trigrams collapse can shatter the light prison, the difference in cultivation between him and Chen Gang means that Chen Gang's speed of repairing the light prison is destined to be far faster than his speed of destruction. Chen Gang smiled and said, be good and come with me. Xiao Yan's expression darkened. In your dreams. As he spoke, he took out a huge black sword that was even longer than his height from his storage bag. It was the evil Radiant Overlord sword. When the evil Radiant Overlord sword appeared, everyone's heart skipped a beat, as if a huge calamity was descending upon the world. Roar! Xiao Yan grabbed the hilt of the sword and let out a long roar towards the sky. Endless blue-purple demonic flames surged out from the evil Radiant Overlord sword, transforming into a boundless sea of fire, violently bombarding the light prison that trapped them. In almost an instant, Qin Gang's heaven cage sigil was about to collapse. This flame, the purple one, is one of the 7 great true flames, Nether Evil Radiant. Qin Gang's expression finally became serious. You little brat, you actually control a devil sword that can swallow and spit out Nether Evil Radiant? This thing is too dangerous, it's not something you can possess. Qin Gang clasped his hands together, finally using his true power. The mana of the Supreme Dragon transformation scripture he cultivated condensed and manifested into a dazzling silver light dragon that flew into the sky. The silver dragon's body was hundreds of feet long, its huge body covering the entire sky. With a long roar, its voice shook the clouds and its power spread across the 4 seas. Qin Gang's hand seals changed. 9 Dragons Heavenly Revolving Treasured Technique, Rise. The silver light dragon in the sky let out a long roar, its body splitting into 9, transforming into 9 slightly smaller light dragons, connecting their heads and tails, surrounding Xiao Yan and the 3 others. Qin Gang's hand seals changed again. Return Dragon Formation, Refine. The 9 light dragons constantly swallowed and spat out silver splendor, connecting into a light mist, wanting to refine the Nether Evil Radiant and Xiao Yan and the others in the center. As an outstanding disciple of the Great Void World, Qin Gang's moves were extraordinary. Outside the Return Dragon Formation, he raised a small flag. Still Water Flag. The still water flag fluttered in the wind, and a large amount of black soil suddenly gushed out, blocking the Nether Evil Radiant. This soil is called the Breathing Soil, it was used by the Ancient Almighty to contain the monstrous flood. It can grow on its own and never diminish. Qin Gang smiled. Although it's not water but fire, it should be able to resist a little. The Breathing Soil and the Return Dragon Formation, one defending and one attacking, immediately suppressed Xiao Yan and the others. Xiao Yan's expression was ferocious. In addition to the white light of the Return Dragon Formation, he also had to bear the pressure of the Nether Evil Radiant. The Nether Evil Radiant was too overbearing. While attacking the enemy, it was constantly attacking him. In the long run, the Nether Evil Radiant would lose control before the Return Dragon Formation could refine them. Zhu Yi and the others also used their own techniques to help Xiao Yan resist. Seeing that victory was in his grasp, Qin Gang couldn't help but smile. Now, you should believe that your master is actually a liar, right? That's right, he does have some luck and obtained some treasures, but his foundation is still too shallow. It's so shallow that even a true great expert would be able to pierce through it with a single poke. He's just like a jumping clown. If that's not the case, why doesn't he dare to show himself? Seclusion. He just doesn't dare to show himself. Qin Gang smiled. Why doesn't he dare to show himself? Because he's afraid, because I've broken his formation, destroyed one of his trump cards. Qin Gang looked at the mysterious sky treasure tree. He's afraid that I've destroyed his last trump card. He's afraid that I have a way to deal with his puppet. If that happens, he'll have no chance. Unfortunately, I do have a way to deal with his puppet. At this point, Qin Gang shook his head and smiled. The formation and the puppet are his 2 greatest pillars. Without these 2 things, what else does he have? How can you guess my methods? A calm voice suddenly sounded above everyone's heads. Xiao Yan and the others looked at each other and cheered. Master is out. Qin Gang, Lu Yang, and the others looked up at the same time. At the top of the Jade Capital Mountain, the mysterious sky treasure tree reached the sky. At the top of the tree, rolling purple mist suddenly appeared, covering the sky and dyeing the entire sky purple. The majestic purple mist condensed into a solid staircase in the sky. Lin Feng, dressed in a purple robe, leisurely walked down the purple energy stairs, slowly walking down. In the purple mist, the treasure tree, the tower, the rain, the galaxy, the halberd, the treasure sword, the screen. Endless light and shadows appeared one after another. It was a majestic scene, and they surrounded Lin Feng. Lin Feng glanced at the return dragon formation that trapped Xiao Yan and the others. Presumptuous. As he spoke, Lin Feng raised his right hand and lightly slashed in the air. Chapter 146. Presumptuous. Lin Feng glanced at Qin Gang's dragon reversal formation and raised his right hand. His 5 fingers formed a blade and he lightly slashed in the air. The power of the heavenly barrier was activated. The 9 silver light dragons that formed the dragon reversal formation suddenly trembled. A vacuum appeared in the space, and the silver mist disappeared without a trace. It was as if an invisible wall had appeared there, cutting off the fog of light. The 9 silver light dragons could not connect head to tail, so the dragon reversal formation was naturally broken. Qin Gang was shocked when he saw this. He looked at Lin Feng, who was surrounded by purple qi in the sky. After hesitating for a moment, Qin Gang put his palms together and the 9 silver light dragons merged again, turning into a giant dragon that was hundreds of feet long. The dragon's head faced Lin Feng. It opened its mouth and a huge ball of light appeared. A huge dermic power fluctuation filled the 9 heavens. Heavenly Dragon Roar. The silver light dragon let out a mighty roar, its qi rushing to the 9 heavens. A series of rapid and strange, yet fierce and shocking syllables burst out. It was like a real primordial heavenly dragon was roaring to the heavens. The power was like millions of people and tens of thousands of demon beasts roaring together. The ball of light in the dragon's mouth turned into a resplendent white light that seemed like it could pierce through the heavens and earth. It shot straight at Lin Feng in the sky. Lin Feng faintly smiled, still raising his hand and lightly waving. An invisible barrier appeared between him and the silver dragon. The white beam of light shot out from the dragon's mouth and bombarded the barrier heavily. However, it was unable to penetrate even an inch. It was like a wave hitting a reef. The wave collapsed helplessly while the reef remained unmoved. Qin Gang's expression changed greatly. This was the first time he had lost his composure. He turned his head and roared at Lu Yang, Lu Yang. He may have his suspicions, but if it wasn't for Lu Yang's solemn guarantee that Lin Feng only had Qi Disciple level 10 back then in the Black Cloud Underground Palace, Qin Gang definitely wouldn't be so arrogant as to come find trouble with Lin Feng. Lu Yang's face was lifeless. His eyes kept turning but his gaze was not focused. How is this possible? That's impossible. How could he become so strong in less than 2 years? What's his cultivation now? I can't see through it at all, but to be able to so casually block Qin Gang's heavenly dragon roar, even a golden elixir period cultivator might not be able to do it. Just what is going on? Lu Yang shuddered and murmured, he must have some kind of treasure on him, it must be like this. This can't be his own power, it can't be. Qin Gang looked at him hatefully. Many times, delayed and outdated information was worse than having a useless teammate. At this moment, Lin Feng had already walked down from the purple qi stairs. Xiao Yan and the other 3 stepped forward and bowed in unison. Greetings, Master. You are all very good. Lin Feng smiled and nodded. He looked at Xiao Yan and said, Xiao Yan, not bad. You can already use some of the Nether Evil Emperor's power. However, you still need to work harder. I believe you can feel your own shortcomings. Xiao Yan respectfully replied, Disciple understands, I will abide by Master's teachings. Lin Feng then pointed out the flaws in the 3 spells one by one. The disciples nodded and accepted the advice. However, it was inevitable that some people would be neglected because of the lively atmosphere. Qin Gang's expression was uncertain. After a while, he sighed softly, and a smile appeared on his face again. You must be fellow cultivator Lin. Chen Gang smiled and said, I was just giving a few pointers to my disciple. Fortunately, we didn't hurt our friendship. Hearing that, Lin Feng turned his head around, looking at him playfully. So you're saying that I have to thank you? Chen Gang coughed dryly. That's not necessary. He straightened his expression and said, this time, I'm here on the order of the current Empyrean Wayfarer of Taishu Temple, senior brother Pang Jia, to invite you to join our Taishu Temple as a guest elder. Lin Feng's expression was indifferent. Oh, a guest elder? Chen Gang said seriously, that's right. Our Taishu Temple is the #1 holy land of cultivation for the human race. It's our duty to rule the heavens. All the outstanding talents in the 4 seas are within the ranks of our Taishu Temple. A talent like you, fellow cultivator, is even more sought after by our sect. He looked at Lin Feng and said, fellow cultivator, although you're free as a rogue cultivator, you're still alone. If you join our Taishu Temple, we'll be of the same breath and branch, and will naturally be able to take care of each other. In the future, whether it's to pass the heavenly tribulation, search for spiritual treasures and miraculous medicines, or to make enemies with others, you can always rely on the power of the temple. Chen Gang's face was filled with emotion, his gaze landed on the little guy and the others. Fellow Taoists, brilliant disciples can also enter my Great Void Temple's gates and study my Great Void Temple's divine abilities. Lin Feng chuckled. You're quite confident, aren't you? Chen Gang smiled. I'm just stating the truth. If I join your Taishu Temple as a guest, what do I need to do? Lin Feng asked nonchalantly. Chen Gang coughed dryly. His eyelids drooped slightly, and his gaze fell on Yujing Mountain beneath his feet. Fellow cultivator, since you've joined our Taishu Temple, you'll naturally stay at our Taishu Temple's mountain gate. You won't need this cave abode anymore. Fellow cultivator, you don't need to worry. The temple will naturally send people to help you take care of it. It won't be a waste. Chen Gang saw that Lin Feng didn't turn against him, and he instantly felt much more confident. He thought to himself, facing our sect, even the most arrogant rogue cultivator will definitely lose his momentum. Although your cultivation and supernatural powers are beyond my expectations, you're still at my mercy. Don't tell me you dare to make an enemy of our world's #1 holy sect. Thinking of this, Chen Gang smiled. He extended his finger and pointed at Zhu Yi. Fellow cultivator, please come with me. Brother Pang Jia needs him to do something. He then looked at the little one. After hesitating for a long time, he didn't speak. He thought to himself, this child must be Taoist Lin's favorite. I won't be in a hurry to provoke him. When we return to the mountain gate, won't he be flat and round for me to play with? Hearing Chen Gang's words, Lin Feng had a faint smile on his face. He turned his head to look at Zhu Yi, and then looked at Chen Gang. Oh, you need my disciple to do something? What is it? Hearing this, Chen Gang was displeased. This isn't something you can inquire about, fellow cultivator. Lin Feng didn't get angry, but the sneer on his face became more and more obvious. It doesn't matter. My disciple isn't someone your Taishu Temple can have any ideas about. Chen Gang was shocked. What do you mean? Lin Feng said indifferently, you took advantage of my closed-door training to bully my mountain gate and cause trouble. You even want to have ideas about my disciple. I should be the one asking you. What do you mean? Is this how Taishu Temple teaches its disciples? Since Taishu Temple won't teach you, then I'll teach you how to be a person. Chen Gang was shocked and angry. You dare to touch me? Do you want to be my Taishu Temple's enemy? Lin Feng put his hands behind his back and said lightly, the #1 holy land of humanity is indeed a great name. If there's nothing else, I don't plan on provoking you. But you bullied me, and you want to just pat your butt and leave? Ask the kid beside you. When he offended me, I threw him under the blood river. Did I care that he was from Mount Shu Sword Sect? Lu Yang glared at Lin Feng. When enemies meet, their eyes are especially red. Hearing Lin Feng bring up old matters, his eyes instantly turned red. I don't believe that a little bastard like you has any great abilities now. The long sword at Liu Yang's waist was unsheathed. This time we'll compete face to face with true ability. Without the Nether Blood River to help you, let's see what abilities you have. Liu Yang's left hand formed a sword seal, the long sword in his right hand pointed at Lin Feng. An astonishing sword light erupted from the blade. Tens of thousands of sword chi surged out, shattering the spiritual energy at the peak of Jade Capital Mountain. Following the guidance of Liu Yang's sword seal, tens of thousands of sword chi all condensed on his long sword. An incomparably domineering ice-cold sword light appeared in everyone's eyes. This sword light was dazzling, flickering with a cold light. Even each ray of light it emitted was an unstoppable and domineering sword aura. This sword was Liu Yang's tens of thousands of sword chi fusing together. 10,000 swords as one, invincible. Shushan's 6 Meridian Sword Artifact, the most domineering and ferocious Shaoshang sword artifact. Sword Chi, Sword Aura, these are all completely different levels of power. Zhu Yi's strongest move is the E-Sword Dao. There is fire in the swamp, changing the sword. It can unleash sword Chi that is over 100 zhang with great momentum. While Liu Yang's sword light is only 10 zhang long. But his 10 zhang sword light can easily shatter Zhu Yi's 100 zhang sword Chi. This sword is called 10 zhang cold. There are no fancy transformations, only extreme power. It is the strongest sword that fused all of Liu Yang's golden elixir period mana with his several decades of sword path cultivation. The Fire Crow Demon Marshal and Daoist Lai Feng felt bitter in their hearts. Both in golden elixir period cultivation, there really is a difference in actual battle strength. Chen Gang saw this sword and his expression was also solemn. Shushan calls itself the Holy Land of the Sword Path, as expected it has a well-deserved reputation. They have really displayed the sword path of the human world to the extreme. Even my Taishu Temple doesn't dare say they can win in the path of the sword. Die! Liu Yang's sword force has already been raised to the extreme. With a roar, a 10 zhang cold light flashed and shot towards Lin Feng. Facing Liu Yang's powerful sword, Lin Feng only smiled and casually pointed. Twin World Void Technique. The void in front of Lin Feng twisted strangely. The violent sword light that was flying through this space suddenly disappeared in front of everyone with a whoosh. Without any warning, it had disappeared just like that. Liu Yang was instantly dumbfounded. The Fire Crow Demon Marshal and Daoist Lai Feng were dumbfounded. Chen Gang's mouth was also wide open, his eyes staring at Lin Feng in a daze. Lin Feng looked at Liu Yang calmly and pointed with another finger, activating the Twin World Void technique once again. Seeing this, Liu Yang's hair stood on end, and a great sense of danger rose in his heart. He did not know what Lin Feng had done. He could not see the profundities of the Twin World Void technique, but he could feel extreme danger. It was as if a sharp blade was on his body and a great disaster was about to befall him. He had to escape. If he didn't escape, he would die. This was Liu Yang's only thought. But just as he wanted to move, he found that his body could not move at all. Looking down, he found that it was empty. Where's my body? This was Liu Yang's last thought. The next moment, his head rolled down the Kunlun mountain range, disappearing without a trace. On Yujing Mountain, Chen Gang and the others were dumbfounded. They could not make a sound as they stared blankly at Liu Yang's headless corpse. A golden elixir cultivator from the Mount Shu sword sect and a great sword cultivator. With a single finger from Lin Feng, he died without a complete corpse. Only Yuanying cultivators had the great mystique to travel through the void and explore the infinite mysteries of space. Enemies below the Yuanying stage, if they did not have a mystique or magic treasure that could freeze the void, only death awaited them when facing Lin Feng's Twin World Void technique. After Lin Feng advanced to the Golden Elixir period, if his opponent could not freeze the void, this technique would be invincible against anyone below the Yuanying stage. Chapter 147. Liu Yang had been killed by Lin Feng on the spot. Chen Gang and the rest were shocked speechless. A direct disciple of the Mount Shu sword sect, a sacred land of swordsmanship, the top human cultivation sect in the heaven primal world, had been decapitated and died without a complete corpse. Liu Yang was no ordinary disciple. He was a direct disciple of Mount Shu's top swordsmanship, the six-pulse sword artifact. He had reached the golden elixir realm before he was 100 years old. Even in the Mount Shu sword sect, he was a rising star. Chen Gang pointed at Lin Feng, dumbfounded. You actually, Lin Feng smiled at him. Chen Gang suddenly shut his mouth and did not say anything else. There was no way to resolve today's matter. Chen Gang instantly adjusted his state of mind and took out a jade disc. He threw it into the air. Open. The jade disc shone brightly in the air and a tall middle-aged man in black scale armor walked out of the light. The middle-aged man was extremely tall and burly. He was nearly 20 feet tall and his skin was a strange purplish-black color. He had two thick and long beards above his lips. What was even more eye-catching were the two forked horns on his head. The moment he appeared, he emitted a powerful and dignified aura that suppressed evil and dispelled chaos. It was as if a king had descended upon the world. That aura had nothing to do with cultivation. It was a bloodline that gave off a natural sense of majesty and dominance. It was like a human looking down on cattle, sheep, insects, and ants. And amidst the majesty, there was a bloodthirsty bravery and a valiant will to battle the heavens and earth. It was as if he was a founding monarch who had conquered the world and ruled over everything. The Fire Crow Demon Marshal looked at the tall middle-aged man in shock and blurted out, "Dragon race." Dragon race? Lin Feng sized him up with interest. His gaze stopped on the horns on the middle-aged man's head and the two long beards above his lips. Legend had it that in primordial times, thousands of powerful beings coexisted. Before the human race rose, the world was ruled by the demons. And among the demons, the primordial sky dragon was in existence at the top of the pyramid. Venerable Lai Feng looked at the tall middle-aged man and shuddered. Dragon race. It's actually a true dragon, not a flood dragon or a hornless dragon, but a true sky dragon. Rumor has it that the Taishu Temple nurtures the dragon clan. Is it true? As expected of the #1 holy land, truly extravagant and bold. After the tall middle-aged man appeared, he stared at Lin Feng and let out a heavy snort that sounded like a clap of thunder. Chen Gang, is this what you call a good opponent? Chen Gang nodded gloomily. The tall, middle-aged man's true form was that of an orthodox branch of the primordial Sky Dragon clan, the Black Dragon clan. They were not proficient in Dharma spells or transformations, but their physical strength and the defensive strength of their scales were the best in the entire Dragon clan. Although the armored Black Dragon before him was only at the level of a demon commander, in terms of close combat, it could match a demon king. Originally, Chen Gang had planned to use him to deal with Lin Feng's war god puppet. However, now that Lin Feng's strength had exceeded his expectations, Chen Gang had no choice but to reveal his trump card in order to maximize his chances of killing Lin Feng. The armored Black Dragon looked at Lin Feng and sized him up for a while before letting out a light snort. Looks like you don't cultivate a body god technique. Lin Feng laughed involuntarily. You idiot, you still want to pick an opponent? Alright, I'll fulfill your wish. The heavily armored war god puppet suddenly appeared in front of Lin Feng. Its ferocious and terrifying aura engulfed the entire area, as violent as a natural disaster. Lin Feng smiled and pointed a finger at the war god puppet's forehead. The helmet suddenly shattered. This is the war god puppet. Chen Gang stared at it, and his heart skipped a beat. At that moment, the war god puppet was no longer wearing a helmet, and its appearance was clearly displayed in front of everyone. What made Chen Gang's heart sink was that the war god puppet looked exactly like Lin Feng. Standing next to Lin Feng, other than the fact that Lin Feng was wearing a purple robe and the puppet was wearing heavy armor, the two looked exactly the same, as if they were carved from the same mold. Even twins could not look so similar. There was only one explanation for this situation. This was not a spell puppet that Lin Feng was controlling, but his body double. A cultivator that could create a body double, Chen Gang did not dare to think further. Lin Feng smiled as he looked at the war god puppet before him. No, it was more appropriate to call it the war god clone. After Lin Feng had advanced to the golden elixir period, he had successfully refined this war god puppet into a body double. At that moment, it was as if he had two bodies at the same time. The war god clone had perfectly inherited his senses and consciousness, and the physical strength of this clone was absolutely terrifying. Lin Feng looked at the armored black dragon and smiled. Are you satisfied now? The war god clone's expression was calm. It opened its eyes, like the most primordial chaos at the beginning of the universe. However, his entire body was filled with a destructive, ruthless, and tyrannical aura, causing everyone who saw him to feel incomparably shocked and terrified. The refining armor black dragon's expression was serious. Before he could say anything, Lin Feng's avatar of the god of war suddenly let out a roar and disappeared in a flash. In the blink of an eye, the war god clone had arrived before the armored black dragon and punched. Boom! The battle god's clone's punch caused a loud explosion in the sky. The air around the refining armor black dragon was in a mess, and all the air exploded. So powerful? The armored black dragon was shocked. It could only take a defensive stance to defend against the war god clone's punch. Then, it quickly retreated, covering a distance of tens of meters with each step. After taking a step back, the refining black dragon quickly advanced again. It wanted to take advantage of the fact that the clone of the god of war's old energy had been exhausted and had yet to recover its energy to catch him off guard. In just one move, it had displayed its rich battle experience. The armored black dragon took a step forward and shortened the distance between it and the war god clone in the blink of an eye. The black dragon threw a punch forward, resulting in a thunderous explosion. This punch was like a heaven-shaking thunderbolt that suddenly exploded, shaking the surrounding space to the point where it buzzed and everything trembled. Roar! However, the war god clone was even more ferocious. Amidst the roar, it did not dodge the attack, but instead threw a punch forward. The armored black dragon's mind suddenly went blank, as if it was the only person left between the heavens and earth. Everything in front of it had become its enemy, and was being targeted by the punch. In the armored black dragon's senses, it felt like the entire heavens and earth had been shaken by the punch of the war god clone, causing it to tremble continuously, as if it was about to collapse. The world did not actually collapse, but the fist intent of the war god clone's punch felt like it was going to shatter the heavens and earth. As the fists of the two collided, the ferocious shockwaves produced a storm. At the center of the storm, the armored black dragon spat out mouthfuls of blood and was sent flying like a kite with a broken string. The outcome of the battle was decided with a single punch. The armored black dragon, who was also in the golden elixir period and had the strongest flesh among the ancient dragon tribe, was utterly defeated. The war god clone did not stop there. He was about to chase after the armored black dragon when a seven-colored wind approached him, causing his body to turn numb. It turned out to be Master Lai Feng taking the opportunity to ambush him with the seven-colored wind. The war god clone let out a roar and forced the seven-colored wind out of his body. With a flicker, he arrived before Master Lai Feng and tore off one of his arms. Master Lai Feng's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Demon, I'll detonate my golden elixir and perish together with you. This was the true trump card of the Wind God sect. Ordinary cultivators could only detonate their own golden elixir to injure their enemies, but the techniques of the Wind God sect could shatter their own golden elixir. The war god clone ignored him and was about to attack again when a powerful energy fluctuation came from behind him. He turned around and saw black smoke billowing from where the armored black dragon had fallen. A deafening dragon roar came from the smoke, filled with anger and pain. A giant black dragon charged out from the smoke. It was over 100 zhang long and rammed toward the war god clone. It was the black refining dragon that flew into a rage out of humiliation. It abandoned its human form and revealed its true form. This black dragon was different from the silver dragon formed by Qin Gang's dermic art. This was a true descendant of the primordial sky dragon. It had a body like an anaconda, 5 claws, horns on its head, a beard on its lips, and a reverse scale on its back. The might of the dragon spread across the sky. Even cultivators with lower cultivation and weaker wills would be forced to their knees by the dragon's might, let alone mortals. However, the war god clone was not intimidated at all. It gave up on Master Lai Feng and threw a punch at the dragon's head. The black-armored dragon's huge body was sent flying, while the war god's clone was also knocked back in midair. A gust of wind could be heard behind him, but there was nothing behind him. Formless, and traceless. 9 heavens formless gale. You're still not dead yet? Master Lai Feng clenched his teeth while holding the wound on his arm. The war god clone harumphed coldly and slashed backward, blocking the 9 heavens formless gale. Buzz buzz. The sound of friction could be heard as the armor on the war god clone was shattered, revealing a body with perfect curves and an explosive force. However, the 9 heavens formless gale that was normally invincible had lost its energy, unable to inflict any damage on the war god clone. Master Lai Feng was dumbfounded. He finally felt fear and tried to flee, but the war god clone had caught up to him in the blink of an eye. You dare kill me? Master Lai Feng screamed in fear. I'll detonate my golden elixir, shut up. This was the first time the war god clone had spoken since he appeared. He grabbed Master Lai Feng's body and tore it apart. No. Master Lai Feng's body turned into flesh and blood. A golden ray of light flew out from the top of his head. It was Master Lai Feng's golden elixir. I'll die with you. The golden elixir contained Master Lai Feng's last thought, self-detonate, I'll detonate your mother. The war god clone lost his patience and grabbed Master Lai Feng's golden elixir. The golden elixir was like a fragile egg, full of cracks. Then, the war god clone raised his hand and swallowed the golden elixir. The armored black dragon was dumbfounded. Even I wouldn't dare to swallow a golden elixir that's about to self-detonate. How is this guy so ferocious? Fear grew in his heart and he could no longer care about Qin Gang. He flew down Yujing Mountain on his own and prepared to escape. The war god clone stared at him. Are you the only one with a big body? He stomped his foot. Grow. 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 With 3 yells, the war god clone turned into a 100 zhangtao giant. He jumped down Yujing Mountain and landed on the armored black dragon. Where do you think you're going? The enormous body of the divine god of battle stomped the black dragon heavily into the ground, as if it was stepping on a grass snake that was running around. The weight of both parties crushed the countless peaks of Kunlun Mountain. Amidst the cloud of dust, the clone of the divine god of battle stood proudly, stepping on the black dragon that was on the verge of death. Chapter 148. In just a short while, the war god's clone had already ended the battle. It was so fast that Qin Gang could not even react. Qin Gang's face twitched as he watched the armored black dragon being stepped on like a dead snake by the war god's clone. He never expected that Lin Feng did not have a puppet, but a clone. No matter how strong a puppet was, it was still a dead object. It could not have the intelligence and flexibility of a clone, nor would it have rich battle experience and adaptability. If it was the war god puppet from before, although it would not lose to the armored black dragon, it would definitely be entangled by the black dragon and would not be able to escape. But the war god puppet was refined into a clone by Lin Feng. With its powerful strength and quick-witted intelligence, it instantly beat the black dragon to the point where it had no control over its own life and death. It also conveniently killed the wind god Sex Oris core stage elder Taoist master Lai Feng. In the blink of an eye, half of the 4 had died. Qin Gang was shocked. He shouted, "You killed the golden elixir period cultivators of the Mount Shu sword sect and the wind god sect. I won't let this go." As he spoke, Qin Gang channeled the power of the Supreme Dragon Transformation Scripture. The silver dragon wrapped around him and flew into the sky, escaping out of Jade Capital Mountain. Lin Feng smiled. He pointed his finger and activated the dual realm void technique again. Chen Gang, who was in the air, suddenly made a sharp turn. Escape technique, soaring dragon perilous path. The panic on Chen Gang's face had completely disappeared. Instead, it was replaced by incomparable calmness. He was born in the world's #1 sacred ground, Taishu Temple. Although he had a sense of superiority, it did not mean that he did not have true abilities. On the contrary, as a disciple of the Void Temple that had entered the world, Chen Gang's combat experience was extremely abundant. At the juncture of life and death, he was even able to disregard all face and stop at nothing just for the sake of killing his enemy. He was a 100% practical fighter. He retreated in order to advance, not to escape, but to kill Lin Feng. The silver dragon drew a strange arc in the sky and instantly crossed thousands of feet, directly arriving in front of Lin Feng. There was a limit to the space that Lin Feng's two realms void technique could intercept. Chen Gang's flying speed was fast, so Lin Feng naturally had to increase the distance in advance. If the silver dragon continued to fly in the direction of Yujing Mountain, it would crash into the casting area of Lin Feng's dual realm void technique. Now, he had suddenly changed directions and counterattacked Lin Feng. At the same time, he had also avoided the two realms void technique. Doomsday Dragon, Sky Smashing Pillar. Chen Gang's hand seals changed continuously, and the silver dragon let out a deafening roar. Its scales flickered and emitted golden light. The 9 heavens dragon's roar shakes the sky. The dragon's entire body had turned completely golden. It bared its fangs and brandished its claws, and a dragon's roar shook the heavens. A large cloud was wrapped around its body. Clouds follow dragons. A true dragon would absorb the essence of heaven and earth and condense it into a mighty and auspicious cloud. It was the so-called mighty heavenly dragon. As for Chen Gang's light dragon, it wanted to erupt with all its strength in an instant to perish together with the enemy. A man going all out could defeat 10,000. Now, a dragon was going all out. The golden dragon lowered its head and fiercely collided with Lin Feng. The divine dragon lowered its head and was about to collapse the pillar. This technique was Chen Gang's real killing move. It displayed the powerful strength of a direct disciple of Taishu Temple. This doomsday dragon, Sky Smashing Pillar, would cause cultivators of the Golden Elixir period who were of the same cultivation level as Chen Gang to perish on the spot. His physical body and divine soul would be smashed together. Lin Feng looked at the golden dragon rushing towards him and thought, I knew it. How could a disciple of Taishu Temple be so cowardly? His fear and fleeing behavior are just a disguise and means to kill the enemy. Just based on this move, his strength is above that of Lu Yang from Shu Mountain. Lin Feng stretched out his right hand and pointed at the golden dragon. But unfortunately, it's useless. The space in front of Lin Feng was moved to an unknown place. The golden dragon that was originally baring its fangs and brandishing its claws had also disappeared in an instant. The previous ferocity, violence, determination, and death battle had all become a joke. The turbulent sky a moment ago had become clear in the blink of an eye. Chen Gang took a deep breath and looked at Lin Feng. He squeezed out a few words from between his teeth, space. The power to control space. Are you of the Yuanying period? Lin Feng's expression was indifferent. He did not comment and did not even bother to answer him. Rise. Chen Gang took another deep breath and did not dare to hesitate. He took out the supreme formation breaking drum that Pang Jie had given him. This Yuanying period magical item was Chen Gang's last resort. He was now 100% sure that he was no match for Lin Feng. Only the supreme formation breaking drum could save his life. The small drum, which was originally the size of a baby's fist, flew into the air and grew into a giant drum that was 20 feet tall and 40 to 50 feet wide. It was as if the supreme ruler of the 9 heavens had descended into the human world. It filled the air and made everyone on Yujing Mountain shudder. Boom! 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 The giant drum let out an earth-shattering drumbeat. It turned into ripples that almost solidified and surged towards Lin Feng like a tidal wave. Lin Feng smiled proudly. This is the drum that broke my yin and yang life and death formation. It is indeed extraordinary. But I was not here in seclusion at that time and could not control the formation. Let's fight again. Let's see who broke the formation. Lin Feng flicked his finger and a small dot of light flew into the air. A formation diagram revealed its true appearance. Countless rays of light shot out from the formation diagram, interweaving into a formation in a strange trajectory and pattern in the sky. The formation was vast and covered the entire Yujing mountain. When the drumbeat of the supreme formation breaking drum came into contact with the formation, it produced a strange vibration. The formation became unstable and the rays of light at the edge began to shatter. Chen Gang perked up. My Taishu Temple's supreme formation breaking drum is known for breaking formations. It is the nemesis of all formations. You refused to believe it and insisted on using a formation to resist it. You are asking to be humiliated. There was a hint of a cold smile at the corner of Lin Feng's mouth. With a thought, a purple sea of clouds formed above Jade Capital Mountain. The almost endless purple chi of the universe suddenly began to roil as if it was boiling. A huge amount of dense cyclic purple chi poured into the yin and yang life and death formation. The previous formation had neither a treasure to suppress the formation nor any materials to set it up. It relied on the formation itself. Lin Feng made a hand seal with his right hand. Now, with the cyclic purple chi, the yin and yang life and death formation has finally revealed the tip of the iceberg. Yin and yang life and death formation, activate. The 6 paths of life and death, the change of heaven and earth, activate. The cyclic purple chi was the pure chi of heaven and earth. It rose to the sky and was the source of all things. At this moment, it merged into the yin and yang life and death formation and its form changed rapidly. The purple color disappeared and turned into a vast sky. It was like the sky was covering Chen Gang's head. Kaboom! With a loud sound, the sky seemed to be turned upside down. The sky and earth were completely flipped at this moment. The powerful twisting force that could overturn heaven and earth immediately twisted the sound waves of the supreme formation breaking drum into a ball and then shattered. Chen Gang spat out a mouthful of blood. His hands changed the hand seals continuously. One mouthful of blood after another, he continuously spat it onto the supreme formation breaking drum. On the supreme formation breaking drum, many mysterious patterns lit up at the same time. Despite the twisting force of heaven and earth, the drum remained standing. Lin Feng watched this scene calmly and said softly, "Next is the real change of heaven and earth." As he spoke, he made a hand seal. The change of heaven and earth, crack the sky. As Lin Feng gave the order, the twisted heaven and earth in the formation suddenly returned to normal. Before Chen Gang could breathe a sigh of relief, he suddenly saw a horrifying scene. Above his head, the sky formed by the cyclic purple chi was actually slowly cracking open. It was not the clouds that were dispersing, but the sky above his head was being torn open. In the middle of the azure sky, there was a crack that was as red as blood. In the crack, meteors collided and heavenly fire flew. It was a scene of doomsday disaster. A dangerous aura of great destruction, great disaster, and great suffering almost suffocated Chen Gang. What almost scared him out of his wits was that he saw a crack appear on the very supreme formation breaking drum. The crack that tore the sky also appeared on the supreme formation breaking drum. The transformation of the yin and yang life and death formation was to use the power that tore the sky at the same time on the supreme formation breaking drum. The supreme formation breaking drum flashed wildly, desperately resisting the violent power that tore the sky apart. The drums sounded together, urgent and dense. The ritual implement seemed to have a life of its own. It also realized that it was a moment of life and death. But it was all in vain. Kaboom! With a loud sound, the sky within the yin and yang life and death formation suddenly split in half. Then, it shattered and turned into nothingness. The supreme formation-breaking drum also let out a mournful cry and was forcibly torn in half. The Yuanying ritual implement was forcibly torn and destroyed. Chen Gang screamed and spat out blood. The golden elixir was almost broken. Unable to care about anything else, he flew out of Yujing Mountain and fled. Such a formation is too fierce. I'm afraid that only the real supreme formation-breaking drum in the sect, the supreme magic treasure, can break this formation. This time, he was not retreating for the sake of advancing. He was really running for his life. Otherwise, he believed that he would definitely die at the hands of Lin Feng. The Fire Crow Demon Commander had witnessed Lin Feng killing Lu Yang and Taoist Lai Feng, capturing the Black Dragon, and tearing the Yuanying ritual implement. At this moment, he was also scared out of his wits and hurriedly flew out. Leave. Don't even think about leaving. The sky shattered and turned back into cyclic purple chi. The rolling purple clouds retreated out of the yin and yang life and death formation. Lin Feng put away the formation diagram. Seeing Qin Gang and the Fire Crow Demon Commander fleeing, he smiled and shook his head. He stretched out his hands and grabbed at the two. All heavens boundary, separate the heavens, cover the void, capture the heavens. Suppress. Suppress, suppress, suppress. The space around Chen Gang and the Fire Crow Demon Commander began to tremble violently. Layers of wrinkles appeared, causing the space around them to become blurry. The space turned into two invisible hands, tightly grabbing Chen Gang and the Fire Crow Demon Commander. Still water flag, living soil. Chen Gang was shocked. He hurriedly summoned the still water flag and released the living soil in an attempt to block Lin Feng's grasp. But the living soil's unique characteristic was that it would grow on its own. It would never decrease, but it would not increase for no reason. Lin Feng's capture used the power of space to seal the boundary, trapping the enemy in a small space. Even the living soil could not block it. With a scream, Chen Gang and the Fire Crow Demon Commander on the other side were both firmly grabbed by Lin Feng. Chen Gang kept vomiting blood from the pressure of the folded space. He felt like all the bones in his body were about to shatter. He glared at Lin Feng. I won't let you off even if I die. Senior brother Pang will not let you off. As he spoke, a small dot of light suddenly lit up on his forehead. It was a small formation that had been carved on his skin. The formation activated, and a powerful and ethereal aura of magic power immediately spread out. Lin Feng's eyes narrowed. He could see that Chen Gang's blood essence and life essence were burning together. He was sacrificing himself to bring someone over from the void on the other side. Chapter 149. A small, glowing formation lit up on Chen Gang's forehead. His blood essence and life force were ignited at the same time. Lin Feng sensed the waves of magical energy within and understood that Chen Gang was sacrificing himself to lure someone from the other void over. It was not that the person had truly descended to this part of the void. Instead, he had separated a wisp of his soul and possessed Chen Gang's physical body, refining Chen Gang's physical body into his clone. Then, the clone manifested and descended in front of Lin Feng. A calm, and emotionless voice came from the formation. Junior brother Chen, you've worked hard. Leave the rest to me. Lin Feng's pupils shrunk slightly. You're the Taishu Temple's Empyrean walker of this generation, Peng Jie. The silhouette of a young man gradually appeared in the formation. The young man had a handsome face and was dressed in a clean white robe. The aura he exuded was gentle, without a hint of sharpness. It was as if he was a gentle breeze or a spiritual spring. However, his eyes shone brightly like the stars in the night sky. It was as if his gaze could see through one's soul. The young man nodded. That's right. I'm Peng Jie. Lin Feng looked at him playfully. If I'm not mistaken, it's not just Chen Gang. Most of the other Taishu Temple disciples who have entered the realm also had a talisman formation like this, right? Peng Jie nodded calmly. That's right. Lin Feng chuckled. As the holy land of Taoism, the leading disciple who has entered the realm, you possess your own junior brother and refine him into your clone? Pang Jie's expression was still calm and indifferent, without the slightest trace of anger. My Taishu Temple is the #1 sacred land in the world, so we should rule over the heavens, subdue all demons, and lead the human race towards glory. This is the heavenly Tao, it is destined to be so. However, throughout this process, there are always those like you who have tried to challenge the authority of Taishu Temple. Pang Jie said silently, as the leader of the current generation of disciples who have entered the realm, I have the responsibility to eliminate those who try to interfere with the heavenly Tao. All Taishu Temple disciples enjoy the glory of the sect. Naturally, they have to contribute to the sect. The sneer on Lin Feng's face became heavier and heavier. So, you can possess other people with a peace of mind? Pang Jie was as calm as ever. I just follow the heavenly Tao. It's not because the heavenly Tao is heartless, but because the heavenly Tao is the same. If I have to obey the heavenly Tao, what I have to do? Lin Feng guffawed. I get it. You think that Taishu Temple is the #1 in the world? As the world's sacred land, you should be the ruler of the world, and anyone who disobeys is. From your point of view, the heavenly Tao is that whoever has the biggest fist should have the final say. Lin Feng smiled. Why cover up such a shallow principle? Pang Jie smiled. How you want to understand it is your business. I have come to surrender to you. This immortal mountain and the stone flute you obtained from that witch, Long Yi, should belong to my Taishu Temple. It is a complete waste of God's gifts in your hands. Give it to me. Pang Jie let out a soft shout, and the light shadow formed by his divine soul became clear. He was about to merge with Qin Gang's body and refine Qin Gang into his doppelganger. Lin Feng smiled leisurely. Unfortunately, that is impossible. You can't come. Pang Jie raised his eyebrows. Oh. Lin Feng said indifferently, because I won't allow it. Finishing, Lin Feng raised his right hand and lightly chopped at Pang Jie in the air. Heavenly boundary barrier. Pang Jie suddenly felt an invisible barrier appear without warning, cutting off the connection between him and Qin Gang. The light of the talisman formation on Qin Gang's forehead suddenly dimmed and gradually disappeared. Pang Jie's soul gradually dissipated. He looked at Lin Feng with a strange gaze. Lin Feng smiled and didn't say anything more. But his meaning was very clear. If I don't allow it, you can't come. Pang Jie was expressionless. He was a Yuanying stage cultivator. He had the ability to break through the void and arrive with his real body in the blink of an eye. But at this moment, his real body had something to do. He couldn't make it. Pang Jie looked at Lin Feng and nodded. We will meet again one day. That day is not far away. The light and shadow scattered and disappeared. Lin Feng chuckled. That day will indeed come. But it may not be what you want. Smiling, Lin Feng looked down at Yujing Mountain and felt happy. Finally, I have my own cave abode. Making hand seals with both hands, Lin Feng's mind connected with the heavenly purple qi, Yujing Mountain, and the mystic heaven treasure tree. At the foot of the mountain, the clone of the god of war grabbed the dying black dragon and flew up Yujing Mountain. Boom! The mystic heaven treasure tree at the top of Yujing Mountain suddenly emitted a bright light. Its branches and leaves that covered the sky shook together. The light broke through the void. The entire Yujing Mountain flew into the sky. The huge white jade mountain gradually disappeared into the void. In an instant, the majestic mountain, the majestic purple qi, and the treasure tree disappeared. Only the blue sky and white clouds were left in the sky. It was as if the vast paradise of Yujing Mountain had never existed before. Only the shattered peaks of Kunlun Mountain on the ground showed that a huge battle had just happened here. In the void turbulence, the mystic heaven treasure tree shone brightly. Its light enveloped the entire Yujing Mountain, protecting everyone on the mountain from being injured by the void turbulence. Lin Feng landed on the top of the mountain with a smile on his face. He could not be more satisfied with the cave abode on Yujing Mountain. Hiding the mountain gate in the void, its exact location was uncertain. Even a primordial divinity cultivator would not be able to find trouble with it. The only problem was that if he reappeared from the void, he would still appear above the cloud-soaring peak at the north of Kunlun Mountain. This was equivalent to a fixed location. If Yujing Mountain wanted to return to the Great Thousand World, it could only appear there. If my cultivation can improve and form the Yuanying formation, I can comprehend more of the mysteries of space. By then, I should be able to cooperate with the mystic heaven treasure tree. I should be able to enter and exit the void freely. I can appear wherever I want. Lin Feng pondered in his heart and very quickly came up with an idea. Master. At this moment, Xiao Yan walked up and bowed. Lin Feng looked at them and smiled. I came out of seclusion a bit late. I've let you guys suffer a bit. Xiao Yan smiled nonchalantly. What are you saying, Master? Instead of suffering, it's more like training. Zhu Yi bowed. It's a pity that we are not skilled enough to defeat the enemy. In the end, Master had to personally take action. Lin Feng smiled. It's a good thing to know shame and be brave. He pointed at the top of the Mystic Heaven treasure tree and introduced the magical effects of the Mystic Heaven Time Light Grotto Heaven. Don't waste such a blessed land. Now that the Mystic Heaven Time Light Grotto Heaven had completely stabilized, anyone who entered could enjoy the magical effects of time acceleration. When Xiao Yan and the others heard this, they were overjoyed and entered the Grotto Heaven without hesitation. Time waits for no man. After the 4 disciples left, Lin Feng sighed. In order to form the golden elixir, he had been in seclusion in the Mystic Heaven Time Light Grotto Heaven for more than 8 years. There was only a little more than a year left before the 10-year deadline for the main mission issued by the system. He would officially open the mountain gate and accept 30 disciples with a total potential value of 25 and above. Lin Feng shook his head and smiled. There's still a long way to go. In the end, strength was still the most important. This time, he had formed a feud with Taishu Temple and Mount Shu Sword Sect. Lin Feng felt that he needed to further improve his strength. He took out the formation diagram of the yin and yang life and death formation and pondered. The supreme formation breaking drum is indeed a Yuanying immortal treasure that specializes in formations. If I hadn't poured a huge amount of cyclic purple qi into the formation, it would be hard to say who would have won. The cyclic purple qi is only the heaven. The changes of heaven and earth require both the heaven and earth to be complete in order to unleash the true peak power. There are a total of 6 changes in the 6 paths of life and death, and each change requires suitable formation materials. Just the incomplete changes of heaven and earth already has such power. When all the formation materials for the changes are gathered, and with the strange treasure to suppress the formation eye, what kind of power will the yin and yang life and death formation have? Just thinking about it made Lin Feng feel fascinated. The cyclic purple qi is the heaven, so the central divine light of earth that can neutralize the cyclic purple qi can be the earth. However, the central divine light of earth emitted by the mirror of heaven and earth is too little compared to the cyclic purple qi on Mount Yujing. Lin Feng thought for a moment, and suddenly had an idea. He took out the still water flag seized from Qin Gang and released the living soil. When he shone it with the mirror of heaven and earth, the living soil suddenly changed. From the black soil, an earthy yellow light suddenly burst out, thick and condensed, as if it was the earth that carried all things. Lin Feng almost looked up to the sky and laughed 3 times. As an earth attribute treasure, the living soil contained an earth attribute essence that was deeper than the mountain divine jade. However, compared to the cyclic purple qi that could turn into a purple sea of clouds with a radius of hundreds of thousands of acres, the amount was still too little. Thinking of this, Lin Feng immediately pulled Qin Gang out. Since Lin Feng interrupted the sacrifice and possession, Qin Gang naturally would not die, but his spirit was incomparably weak. Lin Feng saw him and said with a smile, "Where did the living soil that you used to refine the still water flag come from?" Qin Gang kept his mouth shut and did not say a word. Lin Feng was not annoyed and said with a smile, "You came from the Taishu Temple and have seen a lot of things. You must have heard of a spell called the Netherworld Puppet Manipulation. The evil spirit dares to do that?" Chen Gang's face suddenly changed. Obviously, he had heard of the name of the Netherworld Puppet Manipulation. Looking at Lin Feng, his eyes were full of anger and fear. "How dare you use such a vicious method?" Lin Feng smiled indifferently. "You call this vicious? Compared to that Pang Jia, I am as innocent as a child. At least I will not harm my own people and sacrifice them for possession. You do not understand Senior Brother Pang's ambition." Chen Gang's face was pale as he said in a hoarse voice, "Senior Brother Pang will avenge me. He better not provoke me." Lin Feng looked at Chen Gang. The expression on his face was like a smile that was not a smile. "Or else I'll make the matter of him sacrificing and taking over a junior brother's body known to the world, see if the people of the world will understand his ambitions. I want to see how much face the Taishu Temple can have then." Chen Gang's heart turned cold and he said defiantly, "No one will believe you." "No, everyone will believe me because I have the best witness." The smile on Lin Feng's face was as warm as the sun in spring, incomparably bright. What can be more convincing than a lucky survivor personally testifying? Chen Gang's heart was filled with despair. "I will never." Before he finished speaking, the aura of the Netherworld True Water had already enveloped him. "You will." Lin Feng said with a smile, "But that is in the future. Now tell me, where did you get the living soil?" Chapter 150. Chen Gang's body had been killed by Lin Feng, and his divine soul had been extracted and refined into a puppet with the Yellow Springs True Water. Being controlled by the Netherworld Puppet Manipulation technique, no matter how unwilling Chen Gang was, no matter how angry he was, he could only obediently answer Lin Feng's questions, saying everything he knew without holding anything back. "The Eternal Spring Mountain area?" Lin Feng nodded. He knew that place. It was located deep in the Great Hengduan mountain range. According to Chen Gang, there was a passageway that led to the demon realm's infinite wasteland near Eternal Spring Mountain. That was why there were many demons there. Among the human cultivators, only the 100 Herbs sect was relatively powerful. However, this 100 Herbs sect mainly refined elixirs and was not strong in killing. It was just that they coveted the spirit herbs around Eternal Spring Mountain, so they were reluctant to leave. Lin Feng looked at Chen Gang and suddenly smiled. "I don't believe that all the disciples of Taishu Temple are as stupid as you, willing to let Pang Jia plant a marked talisman on them." Chen Gang did not want to answer, but there was nothing he could do. He said in a muffled voice, "Indeed, most people do not understand Senior Brother Pang's ambitions and painstaking efforts. Too many people are weak and incompetent. Our Taishu Temple is the world's #1 sacred ground, but we have to compromise on many things." "Oh." Lin Feng's eyes flashed. "Tell me more." Under the control of the Hell Puppet, Chen Gang told Lin Feng everything he knew about the Void Temple in detail, like beans pouring out of a bamboo tube. After listening, Lin Feng let out a long sigh. "It's the same everywhere. Where there are people, there will be conflict." After listening to Chen Gang's introduction, Lin Feng realized that the world's #1 sacred ground, Taishu Temple, was already in a state of internal strife. Although it was not to the extent of splitting, the internal strife had taken up too much of their energy. The head of the Void Temple is only in charge of daily affairs. The matters at the decision-making level are jointly discussed and decided by a group of senior bigwigs who form a council of elders. But now, there were two different voices in the Taishu Temple Elders' Council. Both sides had their own supporters, so they were in a deadlock. Although the Taishu Temple's strength was unparalleled, it had always been hidden from the world, and only a small number of its disciples were out in the world. Most of the time, the Taishu Temple's energy was actually used to monitor the movements of the demon race. For thousands of years, the humans and demons had been engaged in a series of wars that affected the entire Divine Land and Tianhuang mainland. Countless Essence Soul Realm cultivators and demon sages had perished. In the last war, the human race won a Pyrrhic victory, but after thousands of years of recuperation, the demon race had already regained their vitality. The Taishu Temple's motto has always been to unite all human cultivators to fight against the demon race. In order to accumulate as much power as possible, not only could the Taishu Temple not expand itself, but it also had to do its best to quell the disputes between the other major powers, reducing internal friction and preparing for a new war between races. But as time passed, more and more cultivators of the Taishu Temple had other ideas. To them, since their sect was the leader of all the major cultivation powers in the human world, they should lead the others, rule over the heavens, and become the supreme ruler of humanity. These people could be called the radical faction of the Taishu Temple. The current world wayfarer of Taoism, Peng Jia, was the representative of this faction. He was also the rising star of the faction, the target of cultivation and heir. On the other hand, the Taishu Temple's motto had always been to hope that the Taishu Temple would become more of a high and mighty guide and supervisor, balancing the various powers, and ensuring that the overall strength of the human race would not be too much of an internal friction. This group of people could be called the conservative faction of the Taishu Temple. In the eyes of the conservative faction, the biggest threat was always the restless demon race. If they lost the war between races, all humans would become slaves and food for the demon race. That would be the real disaster. The previous world wayfarer of Taoism, Yan Mingyue, was the leader of the new generation of the conservative faction. The figure of the young girl in green appeared in Lin Feng's mind. Lin Feng was puzzled. Conservative faction. Shaking his head, Lin Feng thought for a moment, and a smile gradually appeared on his face. Indeed, the strongest fortress will always be breached from the inside. Since there's a conflict within the Taishu Temple, I have room to maneuver. Lin Feng smiled and looked at Qin Gang. Moreover, I still have this trump card. I wonder how those little fellows are doing. After dealing with Qin Gang, Lin Feng climbed the mysterious heaven treasure tree and entered the mysterious heaven time light grotto. Lin Feng entered the grotto and glanced around. Suddenly, he found his 4 disciples gathered in a circle and squatting under the tree. He had no idea what they were doing. Lin Feng landed next to them and tiptoed to take a look. It turned out that the 4 of them were gathered in a circle and studying the fat yellow child. Just like how the fat yellow child was completely unaware of Lin Feng's existence, the fat yellow child was now surrounded by Xiao Yan and the other 3 disciples, but he did not feel anything at all. He only cried as if there was no one else around, and incomprehensible syllables came out of his mouth. He was still the same. The only thing he could barely make out was the word, hungry. When Xiao Yan and the others saw Lin Feng, they hurriedly bowed. Lin Feng waved his hand and smiled. How's the research going? Wang Lin's face was bitter. Master, what is this? He doesn't seem to see us. No matter what we do, he ignores us. Xiao Yan also smiled bitterly. He only responds when we throw him food. He doesn't refuse anything and eats whatever we give him. But after eating, he immediately spits it out. Master, what the hell is this thing? Zhu Yi's brows furrowed into a knot. I've read a lot of strange books about gods and monsters, but I haven't seen any monsters that are similar to it. Lin Feng's gaze turned to Xiao Budian, who had been silent all this time. He smiled and said, You used to be the most talkative. Why are you quiet today? Xiao Budian glanced at the fat yellow child and said slowly, I don't have a clue, but, Xiao Yan asked curiously, but what? Junior brother, don't keep us in suspense. Xiao Budian looked at Xiao Yan with a strange gaze. It's just that I feel that, among the 4 of us, he is closer to you, senior brother. Xiao Yan was instantly dumbfounded. He pointed at his own nose. Me? Xiao Budian nodded forcefully. He doesn't pay attention to anyone. Only senior brother, when you do something, he seems to have a little reaction. Of course, the reaction is not strong. Xiao Yan's head was filled with question marks. Zhu Yi and Wang Lin both sank into deep thought. After a long time, the 2 of them looked at each other and nodded slightly. Lin Feng's pupils slightly contracted. His brain began to turn rapidly as he pondered about the difference between Xiao Yan and the other three. His gaze swept across the ground. There were scattered things that Xiao Yan and the other three tried to feed to the fat yellow child. After the fat baby ate them, he spat them out one by one. There are pills and food. Damn! Who even fed him a short sword? Lin Feng glared at Xiao Budian. Only this little devil could do such an unruly thing. As if feeling Lin Feng's gaze, Xiao Budian shrunk his neck. Lin Feng withdrew his gaze and continued to observe carefully. At this time, something caught his attention. The other things, whether it was pills or food, were all spat out by the fat yellow child. There was only a bite mark on them. It was obvious that they were spat out as soon as they entered his mouth. Only these things were chewed to pieces by the fat baby before he spat them out. It's a type of pill. Lin Feng's nose moved, and he quickly identified it. This pill. Flaming Sun Pill. It's used to help cultivators cultivate fire attribute Dao techniques. It's rich in fire element essence. Lin Feng lowered his head to look at the fat baby who was still crying on the ground. He then looked at Xiao Yan. This fat baby seemed to be more interested in fire element spiritual energy. However, although Xiao Yan started his cultivation by cultivating fire attribute Dao techniques, his magic power was the same as Xiao Budian and the others. They had all been converted into the magic power of the 8 trigrams Great Dao scripture. Logically, there was no difference. Although he chewed the Flaming Sun pill to pieces, he did not eat it in the end. Is it because the fire element essence is not rich enough and the firepower is not strong enough? Lin Feng's eyes turned, and he looked at Xiao Yan again. He had a guess in his heart. Could it be that he felt the evil glorious overlord sword on Xiao Yan? The evil glorious overlord sword contained the netherworld evil glorious, one of the 7 most overbearing true fires in the world. Naturally, it was the top fire element spiritual energy. Thinking of this, Lin Feng secretly took out the Sun True Fire Seed. Sure enough, as soon as the aura of the Sun True Fire Seed was revealed, the yellow fat baby's crying on the ground stopped abruptly. Its big head turned to Lin Feng with a swoosh, looking at him with a face full of desire. To be exact, it was looking at the Sun True Fire Seed hidden in Lin Feng's palm with a face full of desire. The truth is out. Lin Feng breathed a sigh of relief and put away the Sun True Fire Seed. The yellow fat baby immediately lost its spirit and lay on the ground again, crying loudly. Master? Xiao Budian and the other 3 looked at Lin Feng with a puzzled expression. Lin Feng smiled mysteriously. Tianhao is right. He will indeed be closer to Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan frowned. Lin Feng smiled and said, Take out your evil glorious overlord sword and you will know. Oh. Xiao Yan heard this and seemed to have thought of something. He took out the evil glorious overlord sword from his storage bag. Sure enough, as soon as the evil glorious overlord sword appeared, the yellow fat baby on the ground became energetic. He was even happier than before. He jumped up and flew towards the evil glorious overlord sword. Xiao Yan was shocked. He was afraid that he would hurt him, so he quickly reached out to stop him. The yellow fat baby was immediately unhappy. He jumped up and down, crying and making a fuss. Lin Feng smiled and said, This is a rare spiritual monster. Its body is completely condensed from spiritual energy. It has no intelligence, only the instinct of gluttony. But it is very picky. It doesn't like to eat anything but flames. The stronger the fire, the more it likes it. Xiao Yan and the other 3 suddenly understood. Xiao Yan looked at the evil glorious overlord sword in his hand. It sensed my evil glorious overlord sword. Good fella, it can even feel it through the storage bag. It is really sharp. Lin Feng thought that it was because the evil glorious overlord sword contained a large amount of netherworld evil flame. It could not discover my Sun True Fire Seed at first. Xiao Yan looked at the crying fat baby with some difficulty. The problem is, the destructive power of the netherworld evil flame is so overbearing. Can it really eat it? Lin Feng stared at the yellow fat baby for a while and said slowly, if it is activated in small amounts, it will be fine. Xiao Yan nodded and took a deep breath. He poured his magic power into the evil glorious overlord sword. The huge black sword suddenly burst out a few bluish-purple flames. An extremely violent and terrifying aura that could destroy everything suddenly emerged. The earthy yellow chubby baby cheered and flew over, swallowing the netherworld evil emperor in one gulp. Chapter 151. The yellow baby cheered. He was not afraid of the nether evil flame's overbearing power. He opened his mouth and swallowed the purplish-blue flame. A layer of purplish-blue light appeared on his chubby face. He laughed heartily, his face full of reminiscence. Clearly, he found the nether evil flame delicious. However, the next moment, his face suddenly turned bitter. He clutched his stomach and rolled on the ground. It's hard to digest delicious food. When Lin Feng and his disciples saw this scene, they were both angry and amused. The yellow baby was in so much pain that his facial features were distorted. However, it was clearly not fatal. After a long time, the painful expression on his face gradually faded. He let out a long breath and suddenly let out a loud cry. He actually flew out of the mysterious sky time light cave. Lin Feng was slightly shocked. He chased after him and saw the yellow baby jump down from the mysterious sky treasure tree and land on the peak of Mount Yujing. The baby spread his limbs and fell on the peak of the mountain in a shape. The moment he landed, his body turned into rolling yellow smoke that spread over an area of about 100 square meters. The yellow smoke merged into the rocks on the peak of Mount Yujing. Then, a strange scene occurred. The mountain rocks within a radius of 100 acres were all turned into fertile fields. This land was completely different from the land farmers used to farm in the secular world. Abundant life spirit qi filled the entire Mount Yujing. Even a living person sitting in the farmland to cultivate would be greatly beneficial, let alone planting things in it. Lin Feng carefully looked at it for a moment. He took out some medicinal herbs that had not yet been refined into elixirs from his storage bag and threw them into the farmland. These medicinal herbs had already been picked and dried. They had long lost their life aura. They were only rich in the spirit qi of heaven and earth, but they were already dead. However, now that they landed in the farmland transformed by the fat baby, the withered medicinal herbs actually regained their vitality. Under the nourishment of the aura in the farmland, they sprouted roots and actually came back to life. Moreover, these medicinal herbs were only 10 years old when they were picked. Now that they were in the farmland, they grew again and expanded at an astonishing speed. In just a short while, the ginseng grew to the thickness of a human arm and looked like a baby in the soil. Gradually, each ginseng let out a soft explosive sound, as if they were undergoing a transformation. Wisps of white mist gushed out from the ginseng, and gradually condensed into a white shadow of a baby in the air. It circled around the ginseng and ran around happily, emitting a strong medicinal aura. Xiao Budian and the others who followed closely behind Lin Feng were all dumbstruck. Zhu Yi blurted out, "It's a spirit. This ginseng has become a spirit." Not only the ginseng, but also the knotweed, glossy ganoderma, and other medicinal herbs were also emitting rich medicinal energy, condensing into the phantom of a baby. All the medicinal herbs in the field had turned into spirits. After a medicinal herb becomes a spirit, it will condense its own medicinal energy into an illusory form. The older the medicinal herb, the more stable the medicinal energy condensed into a form, and the better the medicinal herb's medicinal effect. The number of trees and spirit grasses that had gained sentience was becoming fewer and fewer. This was because they were in short supply, yet their value was also high. They were constantly being harvested by people, and their numbers were becoming fewer and fewer. Wang Lin had once entered the Hengyu sect. Back then, the Hengyu sect also had a Yuanying stage ancestor. Although it was not a large sect, it was still considered a local sect. In the Hangyu sect's medicinal field, there were medicinal herbs that had gained sentience, but the total number was not even as many as what Lin Feng had casually thrown out. Generally speaking, the vast majority of medicinal herbs needed to be hundreds or even thousands of years old to accumulate a huge amount of medicinal energy before they could gain sentience. But now, medicinal herbs that were originally only 10 years old and had already been picked and dried were placed in the field, and in a short while, they had gained sentience. This speed was too terrifying. Lin Feng communicated with Yujing Mountain with his mind. The field formed by the chubby baby was on Yujing Mountain, so Lin Feng quickly established a connection with him and understood his background. The heavenly luck spirit soil fed on fire and transformed it into its own strange spiritual energy. It could stimulate plants and speed up their growth. The 5 elements reinforce and counteract each other. Among them, fire gives birth to earth. No wonder, no wonder. Lin Feng nodded. Presumably, the stronger the fire, the stronger the spiritual energy of the heavenly luck spirit soil. The nether evil flame is one of the 7 great true fires in the world, so it can be considered the best food for him. Xiao Yan and the other 3 finally came back to their senses at this time. Looking at each other a few times, they were all extremely excited. Isn't this a top-notch medicine field? With this kind of medicine field growing spirit grass and spirit medicine, that speed, that quality, who can compare? Lin Feng was also happy. He looked at them and smiled. Now you know what he is, right? The 4 of them smiled and nodded. Xiao Budian patted Xiao Yan's shoulder. Eldest senior brother, in the future, we'll rely on you to raise this little guy. At this time, the medicinal field at the top of the mountain once again turned into billowing yellow smoke. It gathered together and turned into the chubby baby again. It happily pounced towards Xiao Yan, grabbing his arm and shaking it non-stop. Xiao Yan's face suddenly fell. He looked at Lin Feng. Master? Lin Feng held back his laughter and said seriously, this soil is called the Heavenly Luck Spirit Soil. It feeds on fire and can promote the growth of plants. It is a first-class medicinal field soil. The human form it has turned into can be called the Heavenly Luck Doll. As Tianhao said, in the future, he will be under your care, little Yan. After this kid devours the fire, he must vent it out. So, when you are not planting medicinal herbs, you don't have to give him the nether evil flame. Lin Feng instructed, if you give him the nether evil flame, pay attention to the right amount. This heavenly luck doll also has its own endurance limit. If the fire is too strong, it will hurt its foundation. Xiao Yan looked at the heavenly luck doll with a sad face and nodded helplessly. Xiao Budian rolled his eyes. Master, this heavenly luck doll is so good. Are the 2 remaining monsters in the mysterious Sky Time Cave also the incarnation of some kind of essence? Lin Feng thought it was highly possible, but he still did not know their background, so he did not dare to act rashly. He said seriously, Master will deal with it. If you have nothing to do, don't provoke them. Otherwise, it will bring more harm than good. Do you understand? Seeing his master's serious expression, Xiao Budian and the others quickly nodded in agreement. Returning to the mysterious Sky Time Cave, Lin Feng looked at the heavenly luck doll who was obsessed with Xiao Yan and thought, if I don't use such a good medicinal field, I will be punished by heaven. It seems that when I go out to find the living soil this time, I will have to bring back some high-quality medicinal herbs. With the mysterious Sky Time Cave to speed up time and the support of a large number of high-quality medicinal herbs, the cultivation of his disciples would improve by leaps and bounds. Lin Feng was at ease. His dream of letting his disciples go out and kill everything was coming true step by step. My own cultivation speed should be able to increase by another level. Lin Feng thought. Looking inside his sea of consciousness, a golden elixir was flickering with a faint purple light. Seeing this purple light, Lin Feng felt happy. Similar to the Foundation Establishment realm, the Golden Elixir period was also divided into 3 stages. When a Foundation Establishment cultivator formed the Golden Elixir, their magic power and divine ability would be condensed and perfect. This was the early stage of the Golden Elixir. When an early-stage golden elixir cultivator passed the Yin fire tribulation and burned away all the impurities in the golden elixir, they could advance to the middle-stage golden elixir. When an intermediate-stage golden elixir cultivator passed the Yin wind tribulation and smoothed out all the flaws in the golden elixir, they could advance to the late-stage golden elixir. When an advanced-stage golden elixir cultivator passed the 9 heavenly lightning tribulation and withstood the heavenly lightning, they could successfully form the Yuanying and advance to the Yuanying realm. Although they were both early-stage golden elixir cultivators, there was a huge difference in the quality of the golden elixir. It was divided into purple elixir, vermilion elixir, jade elixir, and yellow elixir. Among them, purple elixir was the best and yellow elixir was the worst. A cultivator of the golden elixir period who had formed a purple core not only had magic power and divine abilities that far surpassed vermilion core and green core cultivators, but more importantly, a purple core cultivator had a greater chance of surviving the final 9 heavenly lightning tribulations and had hopes of forming their nascent soul. In order to form a vermilion core, unless one had a great opportunity or great luck, or had a powerful guardian, one would most likely only be able to survive the Yin wind tribulation. The late stage of the golden elixir would be his final destination. Most jade core cultivators would only be able to cross the Yin fire tribulation and reach the middle stage of the golden elixir realm. However, it would be very difficult for them to cross the Yin wind tribulation. It would be impossible for them to advance to the late stage of the golden elixir realm in their lifetime unless they had the protection of a special heavenly opportunity. As for the weakest Huang Dan, it was completely stuck in the early stages of the golden elixir. Even the Yin fire tribulation was difficult to overcome. The reason why the foundation establishment realm was called the foundation on the path of cultivation was because the spiritual platform was divided into 9 grades and the pill cauldrons were divided into 9 grades was because of this. The probability of successfully forming a core was extremely low for a grade 9 pill cauldron, it was close to impossible. Grade 7 and grade 8 pill cauldrons were also very likely to be unable to form a core. Even if they formed a golden elixir, it would be the weakest Huang Dan. Grade 5 and grade 6 pill cauldrons could at most form a jade core. Grade 3 and grade 4 pill cauldrons could form a vermilion core. Only grade 1 and grade 2 pill cauldrons had hope of forming a purple core. As for Lin Feng's supreme pill cauldron, the golden elixir formed was surrounded by a purple light. It was a purple core. Moreover, it was different from a normal purple core. As Lin Feng's golden elixir flashed with a purple light, its body revealed a gentle jade-like color. It was very different from a normal golden elixir. Rather than calling it a golden elixir, it would be better to call it a purple gold jade core. Such a quality was even higher than a purple core. Lin Feng thought, the supreme pill cauldron is really extraordinary. However, I was able to form this golden elixir. I'm afraid that a large part of the reason why I can form this white jade immortal mountain is because of the treasure tree's purple qi. As he thought about this, Lin Feng came to the side of Xiao Budian and the others. Xiao Yan's face was gloomy. Tian Qihua kept circling around him, as if asking for the nether evil flame. Xiao Budian and the other 2 laughed loudly at the side without any spirit of loyalty, looking at Xiao Yan taking joy in his misfortune. Lin Feng's body floated up, landing on a branch of the small treasure tree inside the grotto heaven, sitting down cross-legged and saying with a smile, I suddenly remembered, I don't seem to have told you guys about my background. Xiao Budian and the others immediately stopped laughing and looked up at Lin Feng. Xiao Yan also pulled Tian Qihua to the side and looked at Lin Feng curiously. Their master's background was extremely mysterious, so they were all very curious. Lin Feng coughed lightly, the first sentence he opened his mouth made the 4 disciples all stunned. Actually, the master in front of you right now is just a clone. Xiao Yan and the others looked at each other. Clone. Lin Feng's lips curled into an almost imperceptible smile. He then said, I came from the sky beyond heaven. I have a myriad of clones in different worlds. My goal is to spread my roots and spread my teachings. Now that I have this jade immortal mountain as my sect's dojo, and I have excellent disciples like you, the time is ripe to open the sect. Today, I will decide the name of the sect with you. Chapter 152. Decide on the name of the sect. Xiao Yan and the other three looked at each other, their faces showing an eager expression. Xiao Budian said with a smile, Master, you opened the mountain gate to the dojo and established a sect. Are the four of us your first disciples in this world? Lin Feng said with a smile, That's right, but I remember someone once said that he was willing to be everyone's little junior brother. Xiao Budian giggled. Xiao Yan put his hands behind his head and said with a smile, First disciples? Not bad. In essence, the four of them were people who were unwilling to be under others and were lawless. Lin Feng accepted them as disciples when they were still insignificant and taught them Dao techniques. After that, he also took care of them a lot. The relationship between master and disciple was deep, so they were content to listen to Lin Feng's teachings. However, if in addition to Lin Feng, there were more martial uncles, or even the elders of the Grandmaster and Grandmaster, none of the four could stand it. Wang Lin had the experience of being a low-level disciple of the Hangyu sect. Although it was not a long time, compared to the carefree life under Lin Feng, it was really a far cry. Even if it was him, as he gradually grew up and his cultivation became higher and higher, he was not willing to live that kind of life again. Xiao Budian's big black eyes turned. Master, does that mean that in the future when we accept disciples, we also have to be their masters? Lin Feng patted his little head. Wait until you finish your apprenticeship, then we'll talk about it. Otherwise, you'll mislead the disciples and ruin my reputation. He looked at the four disciples and said with a smile, In the future, if I meet talented and beautiful people like you, I might personally accept them as my personal disciples and teach them. Most of the remaining disciples will eventually enter your sect and become the third-generation disciples of the sect. Until the fourth generation, the fifth generation, and so on. When Lin Feng said this, his gaze stayed on Zhu Yi for a while. Currently, among his four disciples, the one who was most likely to become a teacher and help him share the burden of teaching his disciples was none other than Zhu Yi. Zhu Yi clearly noticed Lin Feng's gaze, and his heart immediately heated up. He had read the books of the sages and had the ambition to educate the people and make everyone a dragon. Now that he was cultivating and learning the Tao, he naturally had the ambition to transform all living beings and achieve the Tao. Zhu Yi straightened his expression and nodded slightly at Lin Feng. Although he didn't say anything, his promise was extremely heavy. He didn't disappoint Lin Feng's trust and expectations. At this time, Wang Lin asked, Master, what is the name of our sect? Lin Feng coughed lightly, his expression extremely serious. True Fate Heaven Sect. If you enter my Sky Sect, you will enjoy the mandate of heaven. True Fate Heavenly Sect, those who enter my sect will be the true son of heaven. I, your patriarch, guarantee that you will be able to ride the wind and waves for a lifetime, soaring to the top and becoming an immortal in one step. The latter sentence, Lin Feng rolled twice in his stomach, but he didn't say it out loud. Because he found that after Xiao Yan and the others heard it, their heads were full of question marks. The four of them looked the same, with the word Mang written in their left eye and the word Ran written in their right eye. Put together, they were at a loss. Obviously, they couldn't understand the profound meaning of this sect's name. Lin Feng looked at them and secretly curled his lips. The spirit of mischief that he had suppressed when he first created the Tao had awakened, so he couldn't help but think of such a sect name. But this thing about mischief, others couldn't understand the meaning of it, only Lin Feng himself understood it. Because of this, the sense of accomplishment suddenly became a lot less, and it became boring. It's like a group of brats without a sense of humor, a waste of my feelings. Lin Feng secretly criticized, if you can't understand this, then you will have even more trouble understanding things like the Yan Zhao Gate, Luotian Gate, Shichibukai, Shao, Siyi Palace, and Decepticons. At this time, Xiao Yan and the others all came back to their senses and looked at Lin Feng with hesitation. Master, does the name True Fate Heaven Sect have any meaning in it? Lin Feng thought that of course there was, but he was already very interested and didn't have the mood to explain it to them. On the surface, he still looked calm and natural. He smiled and waved his hand. Forget it, that's the name of my dojo in the other world. In this world, I definitely won't use it. After a pause, Lin Feng slowly said, from today onwards, the name of the sect will be Xianmen Tianzong. The mysteries of the mysteries, the gate of wonders, above the 9 heavens, establish a foundation for eternity. Lin Feng looked at the 4 disciples seriously and said, there is one thing you must firmly remember. Our sect's cultivation method and state of mind are to perceive the great Tao of heaven and earth, but in the end, it is not to be one with heaven and earth and act according to heaven. Instead, it is to be independent of heaven and earth. This was Lin Feng's deeper understanding of the 8 trigrams of the great Tao after forming the golden elixir. The expressions of Xiao Yan and the others were solemn. They bowed to Lin Feng and said, we will solemnly follow Master's teachings. Next, the 4 disciples rearranged their seats. Xiao Yan was still the head disciple. This position was not for fun. In the future, there would be 3rd and 4th generation disciples. In the absence of Lin Feng, Xiao Yan would be the head of Xianmen Tianzong. Zhu Yi was the 2nd disciple, Wang Lin was the 3rd disciple, and Tiny Tot was still the youngest disciple. In the following time, all of you must focus on cultivating. Lin Feng counted the time with his fingers and said, in the outside world, 1 year later, our sect will officially open the mountain gate and widely accept disciples. At that time, all of you will have finished your apprenticeship. The new disciples will most likely be under your tutelage. Don't embarrass yourselves at that time. Xiao Yan looked at Tiny Tot with bad intentions and said with a smile, it doesn't matter to us. It's just that little junior brother will have to stay in the mysterious Heaven-Time cave. Otherwise, Tiny Tot will still be alone. Tiny Tot was not angry. He giggled and said, it doesn't matter. Once you accept disciples, I will be everyone's little martial uncle. You don't have to work hard to teach them, and everyone will have to respect me. Xiao Yan, Zhu Yi, and Wang Lin pointed at him and laughed at the same time. You're so lazy and slippery. Jokes aside, the 4 of them, including Tiny Tot, were clearly attentive. They all seized the time to cultivate, especially Wang Lin, who was the most hardworking. Lin Feng looked at the 4 of them in satisfaction, nodding his head. He left the mysterious Heaven-Time cave and landed on Jade Capital Mountain. Looking at the chaotic space turbulence outside the mountain, Lin Feng let out a long breath. There's still 1 more year before my sect, Xianmen Tianzong, will open its mountain for the first time. Unlike now, Jade Capital Mountain was hidden in the void, and others couldn't find trouble with it even if they wanted to. When it truly opened its mountain gate, Jade Capital Mountain would have to return to the outside world and accept disciples. What would it look like to be sneaky? But at that time, enemies like Pang Jia, the Shushan Sword Sect, the Yu family, and the Marquis of Xuanji could come and find them. Those who had enmity, those who had enmity, those who had enmity. In order to deal with strong enemies at that time, Lin Feng had to make preparations in advance. All things in the world had their own uses. Lin Feng tested the heavenly luck spirit soil and discovered that it couldn't activate the central earth divine light. Therefore, he had to go to Eternal Spring Mountain to find the living earth. Oh right, I still have a chance to draw a prize. Lin Feng suddenly remembered that the system rewarded him with a chance to draw a prize after he completed the Mountain God Jade side quest. The mountain opening was imminent, and the mountain peak couldn't be bare. The basic facilities still had to be completed. Lin Feng currently only had the construction token for the main palace hall, so he might as well not use it first. He'd save up a few tokens and release them all at once. Only then would it have a shocking effect and not arouse suspicion. Entering the lottery system, Lin Feng first looked at the dice system. There wasn't anything good. The only thing that was more attractive was a 5-clawed golden lion. It could breathe thunder and fire, and its 5 claws could soar through the clouds and fly like the wind. It wasn't a bad choice to use as a mount. However, Lin Feng rolled his eyes, thinking that he would soon have a more eye-catching mount. Therefore, he ignored the five-clawed golden lion, exited the dice system, and entered the roulette system. Library construction token. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. This was obviously something that couldn't be lacking for the sect. Lin Feng took a deep breath. He didn't rush to start the lottery, but stared at the 18 squares on the roulette in a daze. There was once when Lin Feng tried to figure out the rules of the roulette system, but he failed. At that time, he estimated that the roulette would stop after 3.5 revolutions. However, the truth was that after 3.5 revolutions, the roulette spun another 4 squares. In other words, the roulette spun a total of 3 revolutions and 13 squares. Lin Feng calculated for a moment, chose a number, and ordered the roulette system, spin. The roulette spun rapidly. Lin Feng stared at the roulette nervously. He wanted to see if his guess was correct. The roulette quickly spun 3 times, and then continued to spin for half a circle, which was 9 squares. The speed had clearly slowed down, and it could stop at any time. 3 more grids would lead to the library pavilion's construction token. However, this time, the roulette spun for half a circle and 2 more squares before stopping. Lin Feng sighed, but he didn't feel depressed. He had roughly figured out the rules of the roulette system. From 3 revolutions and 9 squares to 3 revolutions and 13 squares, that was roughly the range where the roulette would stop. Although it was still a probabilistic thing, the probability had greatly increased. Next time he plays the roulette system, Lin Feng can stare at something that he likes and spin the roulette. The chances of getting it will increase from 1/18 to around 1/4. It can be considered a very high chance of winning. Lin Feng perked up. Let's see what I got this time. What appeared in front of Lin Feng was a red and blue fruit. The top half was fiery red, and the bottom half was ice blue. Frosty fire fruit, an extremely cold fruit that grew from the fiery tree that grew in extremely hot places. It had both hot and cold properties. When it encountered extreme cold, it would turn cold air into burning flames. The colder it was, the hotter it would be. When it encountered extreme heat, it would turn fire into ice. The hotter it was, the colder it would be. Lin Feng held the red and blue fruit in his hand. The red top half was burning hot, while the blue bottom half was frighteningly cold. This is a wonderful little thing. I wonder what it can do. After weighing the frosty fire fruit in his hand, Lin Feng put it into his storage bag. He was especially careful to separate it from the true sun fire seed to prevent it from accidentally igniting. After all the preparations were done, Lin Feng started to move, heading towards Mount Eternal Spring. Chapter 153. Lin Feng was controlling the black cloud flag, flying in the sky. At this moment the black light of the black cloud flag was circulating, giving off an even more extraordinary imposing manner. Within the black light, there was a faint distortion of space, revealing a powerful concept of power. From Qingang, Lin Feng not only seized a small amount of living soil from the still water flag, but also obtained a small bottle of Tianyi True water. Using this bit of Tianyi True water, Lin Feng successfully cleaned the black cloud flag that was contaminated by the Nether Blood River. Previously, because the black cloud flag was contaminated by the Blood River True water, there were many uses that could not be displayed. Although it could be used for flight and short-range teleportation, and could even form a small space inside, it could not be used to fight. Now the black cloud flag had recovered its original style as a golden elixir period magic tool. The black light was both offensive and defensive, and was also a top-quality magic tool in the golden elixir period. But with Lin Feng's current strength, if he really fought, the black cloud flag would not be of much use. But after being purified by the Tianyi True water, it was much more agile to use. And in the future, if Lin Feng can successfully form his nascent soul and refine it again, the black cloud flag still has hope of advancing to the Yuanying stage. At this moment the one controlling the black cloud flag was not Lin Feng's main body, but the clone of the god of war. Lin Feng's main body was still cultivating on Yujing Mountain. After Lin Feng divided his divine sense to refine the clone of the god of war, it was equivalent to having another body. After advancing to the golden elixir period, Lin Feng's divine sense was already powerful enough to control two bodies at the same time, sharing consciousness and memories. The heavy armor had already been replaced by a purple robe. Apart from being much taller, it was no different from the main body. Lin Feng faintly smiled. This body's qi and blood is even more powerful, and also very useful. It's just that the divine sense is not as agile as the main body, and it is not as convenient to cast spells as the main body. But the power of the fleshly body is enough to make up for the lack of spells. As Lin Feng rode on the black cloud flag, he pondered, previously when I was comprehending the 8 trigrams book of the Great Tao, I vaguely had some vague ideas about corporeal body divine arts and martial arts fist arts, but I was unable to put them into practice. This time, I can use the powerful qi and blood of the divine god of battle's clone to create this martial art. Flying all the way, Lin Feng had already entered the range of the Great Hengduan mountain range. Although they were all connected by a chain of mountains, compared to the majestic mountains of the Kunlun mountain range, which towered into the clouds, the peaks of the Great Hengduan mountain range were not as majestic, but more precipitous. All kinds of cliffs and cliffs could be found everywhere, showing the uncanny workmanship of nature. Lin Feng's target was Mount Eternal Spring, which was located at the southern end of the Great Hengduan mountain. It was the most powerful cultivation sect in this generation, the Wilderness Sword sect, a member of the 9 Heaven Sword Alliance. There were all kinds of rare treasures in the Great Hengduan mountain range. The Wilderness Sword sect that guarded this place, whether it was celestial devices or divine arts, was famous for its eccentricity and variability. It was famous in the entire Tianyuan world. The Wilderness Sword sect's way of doing things was not overbearing. Except for a few places that were regarded as their own private property and forbidden for others to enter, the Wilderness Sword sect allowed other foreign cultivators to enter the southern part of the Great Hengduan mountain range to search for treasures and herbs. Therefore, many cultivators entered the Great Hengduan mountain range to search for the rare treasures and spiritual medicines that they needed. Along the way, Lin Feng had seen many groups of cultivators entering the Great Hengduan mountain range. In addition to the rare treasures, the Great Hengduan mountain range was also full of many dangers. In addition to the endless number of demon beasts and fierce beasts, the mountain range itself also hid many eccentric and overbearing natural disasters. However, for the human cultivators, the most dangerous thing here was always their own kind. In the barren mountains, the human cultivators were far more dangerous than the demon cultivators. Lin Feng looked at the ongoing murder and robbery in front of him and shook his head. The current situation was that 5 people were besieging 6 people. To be exact, it was 4 people suppressing 6 people. There was still one person watching from the side and did not make a move. However, the pressure brought to the 6 people who were at a disadvantage by this bystander was greater than that of the other 4 people. Because the black-robed Taoist, who was standing on the side and did not intend to make a move, had Dharma power of the golden elixir period. His perfectly condensed aura was like a mountain pressing on the hearts of the 6 people who were besieged. Among the 6 people, 3 were in the foundation building stage and the other 3 were in the qi refining stage. Their opponents, the 4 cultivators in gray robes, were all in the foundation building stage. They were suppressing them and beating them up. Under the leadership of a white-robed elder, the 6 people were struggling to resist. The 3 young people in the qi refining stage had been in danger several times. They could barely hold on because of the help of the elders in the foundation building stage. One of them, a girl in yellow, was beautiful. Her facial features were charming but also heroic. She said hurriedly, "Master, martial uncle, you should break out of the encirclement quickly. Don't be dragged down by us." The white-robed elder smiled bitterly. "My silly disciple, even if we want to leave now, we can't." The black-robed Taoist, who was outside the battle and did not make a move, chuckled strangely. "Little beauty, your master is the one who understands. It's funny that you still can't see the situation clearly. Be a good girl and come back with me. I won't mistreat you. If you do dual cultivation with me, I can guarantee that you will quickly build your Tao foundation. In the future, you will also have hope for the great Tao of the golden elixir period. The girl in yellow's pretty face darkened. Taoist Tai Mu, you are guilty of many crimes. How many women have you harmed with evil arts? Even if Xiang Lanying dies, she will never be with an evil Taoist like you. Taoist Tai Mu was not angry. He chuckled and said, I'm afraid it's not up to you. Above the clouds, Lin Feng looked at the scene in front of him with interest. At a time like this, shouldn't a young hero come out, kill the villain with one slap, save the beauty, and then the girl throw herself into his arms and repay him with her body? While Lin Feng was happily imagining things, he suddenly heard a chuckle from afar. I've heard that Taoist Tai Mu practices evil arts and often captures women to be his cultivation vessels. He has a lot of blood on his hands. Now that I've seen it, he really has a death wish. Although the chuckle was soft, it was clearly heard by everyone. A fierce light flashed in Taoist Tai Mu's eyes. He looked into the distance, and his gaze was almost solid, shining on a young man in black. The others also looked at the young man in black. At first glance, they couldn't help but exclaim. He was tall and handsome, wearing a black robe. His snow-white hair hung loosely behind his back. His eyes were cold and lonely, and the corners of his mouth were slightly curled up. His expression was like a smile. Everyone at the scene was captivated by his charm, forgetting to fight for a moment. This image. Above the clouds, Lin Feng looked at the young man in black and was dumbfounded. So old-fashioned, no, such a cool image, this doesn't seem right. Previously, he thought that someone would come out and save the beauty, but that was just a joke. Who knew that someone like this would really come out? Taoist Tai Mu glanced at the young man in black and suddenly laughed. Overconfident kid, you're only at the late stage of foundation establishment. If you want to die, I'll grant you your wish. Hearing this, the light in the eyes of the white-robed old man and the others dimmed. Obviously, they didn't think that the young man in black who was only at the late stage of foundation establishment could defeat Taoist Tai Mu. Taoist Tai Mu laughed strangely and shouted at the 4 gray-robed Taoists, Little 4, Little 6, take him down. The 2 gray-robed Taoists answered, Yes, Master. Their bodies flashed, and they had already left the battle, pouncing towards the young man in black. The yellow-robed girl, Xiang Lanying, cried out in alarm, Watch out. Her companions were also very anxious. Some wanted to rush over to help, some wanted to seize the opportunity to break out of the encirclement. But Taoist Tai Mu kept staring at them, chuckling strangely. He opened his palm and released a cloud of black gas, trapping Xiang Lanying and the other 5. Meanwhile, his 2 disciples had already pounced in front of the young man in black. The 2 of them were also at the late stage of foundation establishment. 2 against 1, no wonder Xiang Lanying and the others didn't think the young man in black would win. Xiang Lanying closed her eyes. She couldn't bear to see such a charming young man in black being defeated and humiliated. In the distance, Lin Feng also couldn't bear to watch anymore. However, he wasn't pitying the young man in black who was being beaten by 2. What a joke. How could a person with this kind of image fail to save the beauty? As expected, facing the 2 gray-robed Taoists who were aggressively pouncing towards him, the young man in black didn't even look at them. Instead, he looked at Taoist Tai Mu and said indifferently, I really don't like you wearing black. You've insulted this color. As he spoke, the young man in black suddenly punched out. Lightning flashed on his fist, densely packed with cyan and purple lightning. It was so frightening that it was as if a ghost had descended into the world. One punch, just one punch, and the 2 gray-robed Taoists were sent flying at a speed even faster than when they came. Everyone was dumbfounded. Taoist Tai Mu cried out in surprise, Who are you? The young man in black didn't answer, but in the sky behind him, the vast sea of clouds suddenly dispersed. Boom! Amidst the earth-shattering thunder, 4 giant war horses the size of elephants appeared in front of everyone, their bodies flashing with purple light and their hooves treading on thunder clouds, dragging a cyan chariot the size of a small mountain. The young man in black's feet stopped, and he had already landed on the cyan thunder chariot. The giant brontosaurus horse and the tall cyan thunder chariot made his entire body shine with lightning, making him look extremely cool. No matter if it was Taoist Taimu or the old man in white, under the contrast of the young man in black, they were all like coyotes that had encountered a lion king. The young man in black looked down at Taoist Taimu and asked blandly, "You asked me who I am?" He took out a red maple leaf and opened his palm. The red leaf was blown down by the wind, fluttering freely in the air. Cyan thunder chariot, red maple leaf. The old man in white exclaimed, "Mr. Red Leaf, it's Mr. Red Leaf." Everyone on the scene was shocked. They all fixed their eyes on the young man in black, who was calmly standing on the chariot. Taoist Taimu's face instantly darkened. He squeezed a few words out of his teeth, "Mr. Red Leaf, Yi Piao Xue." Surrounded by the crowd, Xiang Lanying also stared at Mr. Red Leaf in a daze. Lin Feng was probably the only one who didn't feel anything. He looked at the chariot from a distance, laughed and said, "Is this the legendary A Thunderous Bang in the Sky?" Suddenly, he heard other voices coming from the chariot, and there were more than 1 or 2 people. Lin Feng took a closer look, and his eyes popped out. He was so shocked that he almost fell off the black cloud flag. Holy shit! Chapter 154. Aside from Mr. Scarlet Leaf, there were other voices coming from the chariot, and there were more than 1 or 2. Some of the voices were soft and sweet, some were crisp and pleasing to the ear, and some were heroic. But that was not the point. The point was that these voices were all made by women. Not just 1 or 2. Out of curiosity, Lin Feng carefully sized up the people sitting on the chariot. At a glance, his eyes widened. Holy shit! On the chariot sat a group of stunning beauties whose beauty outshone the moon and put the flowers to shame. Some were elegant, some were proud, some were arrogant, some were rude, some were cold and indifferent, and some were delicate and shy. None of them were the same. Saintesses, mature women, tsundere women, lowless, and all kinds of women were here. Also, they are not ordinary women. Lin Feng only scanned with his divine sense and confirmed that among them, the one with the lowest level is also at the Qi disciple stage. There are even 3 people who are foundation establishment stage cultivators. Harem, this is the legendary harem. Lin Feng was dumbfounded. What surprised him even more was that all the beauties in the chariot, regardless of their personalities and breeds, had their attention on Mr. Scarlet Leaf, as if he were the moon surrounded by stars. Daoist Iron Wood, a cultivator of the Golden Elixir period, was not a threat to them at all. The group of beauties just stared at Mr. Scarlet Leaf, as if as long as he was by their side, it would not matter even if the entire great heaven primordial world was destroyed. You girls, let go of that man. If you have any tricks up your sleeves, come at me. Lin Feng endured and endured, this sentence was on the tip of his tongue over 100 times before he did not say it out. Including the time I spent cultivating in the dark heaven timeless cave, it has been more than 10 years since I came to this world, and I'm still a virgin. Lin Feng was filled with grief and indignation. You bastard, how dare you monopolize so many resources? You deserve to be punished by the heavens. I curse you to be impotent every day. No matter what he thought, Lin Feng had to accept the fact that he might have met another Mr. Right. Moreover, unlike Xiao Yan and the other 3, this guy seemed to have taken off and was about to enter his mature period. Lin Feng activated the talent detector. I wonder if he has a master. Young Master Scarlet Leaf did not have a master, so the talent detector quickly displayed his potential value. Lin Feng looked at the data displayed on the talent detector and was stunned. He tested it again to make sure that he had not made a mistake. It was indeed Mr. Maple Leaf who had opened a harem. Is there something wrong with the detector? That shouldn't be the case. Lin Feng sized up Master Red Leaf in confusion. Xiang Lanying and the others didn't care so much and let out waves of cheers, a group of people almost crying tears of joy. It really is Master Red Leaf. We're saved. Rumor has it that Master Red Leaf was the son of an official in the secular world. He started studying at the age of 4, took the exams at the age of 7, and took the imperial examinations at the age of 12. After passing the exams, he did not accept an official position and instead entered the mountains to learn Tao. The white-robed old man nodded and said, "That's right." Back then, many major sects fought to take Master Red Leaf as a disciple, but he did not accept any of them. Instead, he meditated in the mountains for 5 years, comprehending the Tao of heaven and earth, creating his own Tao and embarking on the path of immortality. Master Red Leaf established his foundation in 3 years, established his beer a year later, and established his pill cauldron a year later. He's only in his 20s this year, but he's already in the late stage of foundation establishment. You should know that Master Red Leaf relied entirely on his own comprehension and did not receive any cultivation resources provided by the sections. Xiang Lanying looked at Master Red Leaf on the chariot. I heard that although Master Red Leaf is only at the foundation establishment stage, he has great fortune and powerful abilities. Even at the Qi refinement stage, he could defeat opponents with higher cultivation levels than him. A few days ago, he killed a demon commander in the Golden Elixir period right after he advanced to the late stage of foundation establishment. The white-robed old man nodded vigorously. That's right. Xiang Lanying recalled Master Red Leaf's legendary experiences and could not help but fall into a daze for a moment. Taoist Ironwood, who was about to become the backdrop for Master Red Leaf's legendary achievements, had an uncertain expression on his face. It would be an injustice to say that he, a cultivator of the Golden Elixir period, feared Master Red Leaf, who was at the late stage of foundation establishment. Although there was an old saying that a man's name was like a tree's shadow, Master Red Leaf had indeed killed a demon commander at the same level as Taoist Ironwood. However, those who could form the Golden Elixir period were all cultivators with incomparably firm wills. Without actual combat, reputation alone was not enough to scare Taoist Ironwood. What Taoist Ironwood feared was the blue lightning chariot pulled by 4 Brontosaurus horses under Master Red Leaf. The 4 Brontosaurus horses alone were equivalent to the strength of 4 foundation establishment cultivators. The Blue Lightning Chariot was even the signature product of the number 1 artificer sect in the Heaven Primal World, the Heavenly Craft Pavilion. As it rolled forward, lightning opened the way. It was definitely powerful enough. Master Red Leaf was already at the late stage of foundation establishment. Even if he was an ordinary person, with such a chariot, Taoist Ironwood would have to think twice before touching him. While Taoist Ironwood was hesitating, the other party did not hold back at all. Master Red Leaf glanced at Taoist Ironwood and said calmly, "Scram, or die." Lin Feng grinned. What a guy, this taunt would definitely make him hate him to the max. As expected, Taoist Ironwood was stunned. His originally dark face instantly turned blood red. As a cultivator of the Golden Elixir period, being mocked by a foundation establishment cultivator like this, Taoist Ironwood felt terrible. Ignorant junior, you dare to be so arrogant with just a blue lightning chariot? Taoist Ironwood roared angrily. He leaped into the air, brought his palms together, and then separated them. A dark cloud loomed over Master Red Leaf. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. He saw a strange flying sword hidden deep within the dark cloud released by Taoist Ironwood. It was as agile as a fish in water. Obviously, although Taoist Ironwood was angry, he did not let his anger get to his head. Instead, he was calm and vicious. He wanted to use the dark cloud to attract the blue lightning chariot's attention. Then, he would use the flying sword in the cloud to ambush his opponent. This was a deceptive strategy to defeat the enemy. On the chariot, Master Red Leaf had always looked lonely and cold. Now, seeing Taoist Ironwood's attack, his lips curled into a smile and he shook his head lightly. This action seemed to add infinite charm to him. The women on the chariot were all mesmerized. Blue lightning chariot. When did I say I would attack you with the chariot? Master Red Leaf chuckled and tossed out a bronze mirror. The bronze mirror spun in the air. Both sides were mirrors, one black and one white. At this moment, the black mirror spun and shone on the dark cloud released by Taoist ironwood. The dark cloud dissipated instantly, and the flying sword hidden inside had nowhere to hide. What kind of magic item is this? Taoist ironwood was startled. He wanted to call his flying sword back, but to his shock, he found that the flying sword that was shone on by the black mirror couldn't be called back. In the mirror, the flying sword struggled and trembled, but couldn't get rid of it. Seeing this, Taoist ironwood immediately released another flying sword. This time, the flying sword was crimson, spewing flames, and darted towards Master Red Leaf. Master Red Leaf laughed, "You are seeking death. Don't blame me." He cast an incantation gesture, and the bronze mirror in the air suddenly spun, turning into a white mirror, facing Taoist ironwood. The mirror's light shone and directly knocked away Taoist ironwood's water and fire flying swords. On the chariot, a young girl laughed and said, "Taoist, let me teach you a lesson. My Longjuan's bronze mirror is a magic item of the golden elixir period. It is called the magnetic yin-yang mirror. This mirror is guided by the magnetic force. It is divided into two sides, yin and yang. The yin side can freeze other people's magic items, and no one can escape. The yang side can damage other people's magic items, and no one can stop it." Taoist ironwood laughed viciously, "You dare to be so arrogant in front of me with just a golden elixir period magic item?" He suddenly activated his magic power, and the water and fire swords combined. The water flying sword moved like flowing water, and the fire flying sword created a raging flame. Together, they attacked Master Red Leaf's magnetic yin-yang mirror. After all, Taoist ironwood was a cultivator of the golden elixir period, and his magic power was far greater than Master Red Leaf's. Once he exerted his magic power, the magnetic yin-yang mirror couldn't withstand it. Master Red Leaf didn't panic. He threw out a long rope and tied it up Taoist ironwood. The long rope was somehow magical, and Taoist ironwood couldn't dodge it, and was tied up. Once the rope tied him up, he immediately felt his magic power stagnate, and he couldn't circulate it smoothly. In this way, the gap between him and Master Red Leaf's magic power was reduced by a lot. On the chariot, a cold-looking beauty glanced at Taoist ironwood and said, "My Longjuan's dragon trapping rope is also a golden elixir period magic item. Once an opponent with the same cultivation level is tied up, he won't be able to struggle at all. He can only wait to be captured. Even though you are in the golden elixir period, your magic power will still be suppressed." Blue thunder chariot, magnetic yin-yang mirror, dragon trapping rope. Master Red Leaf had many powerful treasures. Down below, Xiang Lanying and the others were dumbfounded. They were all fascinated and admiring him. With so many treasures, it's no wonder he can challenge those with higher cultivation levels. Lin Feng watched as Master Red Leaf took out one treasure after another, and his storage bag was like a bottomless pit. He was getting more and more confused. Judging from this, it shouldn't be. How could the talent detector come up with such an answer? Being mocked by the beauty next to Master Red Leaf, Taoist ironwood was furious. "Bitch, when I kill that brat, I will take all of your yin energy and torture you to death." He suddenly yelled, "Rise." Instantly, he released 3 more flying swords, representing the 3 elements of gold, wood, and earth. After combining with the water and fire swords, the 5 elements became one and turned into a giant sword. 5 elements yin wind sword. The giant sword brought up gusts of chilly wind and flew towards Master Red Leaf like howling ghosts. "You've angered me." Master Red Leaf, who had been calm and indifferent since he showed up, suddenly showed anger on his face. He raised 2 fingers. "You've made 2 mistakes. First, you shouldn't have played with your sword in front of me again and again. Second, you shouldn't have cursed my woman. Whoever cursed my woman, I'll kill his whole family." Master Red Leaf made a hand gesture, and a sharp sword beam flew out of the blue thunder chariot. The murderous aura was so strong that even ghosts and gods would be frightened. I'll show you what a real sword is. Chapter 155. A sharp sword light hovered above the chariot, its murderous aura shocking the heavens. Even Lin Feng was surprised. This sword has such a strong murderous aura. Lu Yang is from the Shu Mountain Sword sect, but his sword is no match for this murderous sword. Mr. Red Leaf did not care about Tai Mu's 5 elemental Yin Wind sword at all. Filled with compassion, he sighed. This sword is called the 7 Evils Dragon Slaying Sword. When it was at its peak, it slaughtered countless living beings and cultivated a peerless murderous aura. It is a demonic weapon made in heaven. I don't use this sword easily. You forced me to do it today. As he spoke, Mr. Red Leaf made a sword gesture. The 7 Evils Dragon Slaying Sword in the air let out a shrill cry, as if a dragon was about to die. The 7 Evils Dragon Slaying Sword turned into a black light and intercepted Tai Mu's 5 elemental Yin Wind sword. The whistling sinister wind was stirred up by the baleful aura and instantly disappeared without a trace. The giant 5 elemental Yin Wind sword was cut in half by the black light. Tai Mu's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Like a wounded beast, he spat out a mouthful of blood. Although he was furious, he was sure that with his early-stage golden elixir cultivation, he was no match for Mr. Red Leaf, who was only at the late stage of foundation establishment. He was still superior in terms of magical power and abilities, but he was no match for all the treasures his opponent had. Especially the 7 Evils Dragon Slaying Sword, it was a powerful weapon. Not to mention that Mr. Red Leaf's chariot hadn't even shown its power yet. Tai Mu did not dare to hesitate any longer. He hurriedly made a gust of evil wind and fled. Mr. Red Leaf raised his eyebrows. You still want to leave after committing so many crimes? He made a sword gesture. The 7 Evils Dragon Slaying Sword turned into a black light again and chased after Tai Mu. Tai Mu turned around and glared at him. You want to kill me? I'll die with you. As he spoke, he bit the tip of his tongue and spat out a mouthful of blood. The blood floated in the air and did not dissipate. Tai Mu quickly moved his fingers in the air, drawing a spell symbol with his own spirit blood. The seal flashed with a green-purple light and seemed to shrink slightly. Then, it exploded and turned into endless evil wind. Amidst the chilly wind, there was a foul stench assailing their nostrils. Lin Feng felt nauseous from far away. In all his life, other than the Nether Blood River, there isn't anything smellier than this. The white-robed elder and the others below all cried out in alarm, be careful, it's the extreme poison Yin Wind. Young master, be careful. Without hesitation, Xiang Lanying leaped forward and stood in front of Master Scarlet Leaf, shielding him from the chilly wind. Xiang Lanying's body went limp as soon as she was hit by the cold wind, and a layer of purple appeared on her face. Young Master Scarlet Leaf frowned slightly. With a wave of his hand, he brought Xiang Lanying onto the Blue Thunder chariot. After carefully examining her condition, he took out a jade pendant and put it on her. With the help of the jade pendant, the purplish color on Xiang Lanying's face subsided slightly, but she was still deeply poisoned. Young Master Scarlet Leaf gasped. What a vicious poison. With this interruption, Daoist Tai Mu finally seized the opportunity and fled in panic. On the Blue Thunder chariot, a noble and cold woman in a palace dress frowned slightly. But you let him escape. Young Master Scarlet Leaf shook his head. Although I don't need it, this lady is always kind. I can't just leave her be. The noble and cold woman in the palace dress revealed a faint smile. It's precisely because you're this kind of person that I chose you as my husband. Young Master Scarlet Leaf smiled. An elegant and gentle beauty beside him smiled. What do you plan to do next, Lang Jun? The poison in this lady's body hasn't been cleared yet. I'll take responsibility until the end. Coincidentally, we're going to the 100 Herb sect. The 100 Herb sect is famous for refining medicine and curing poisons in the Great Hengduan mountain range. We can ask their medical experts to treat her. Young Master Scarlet Leaf sighed. The arrogant girl curled her lips. Nice words, but I think you want to add another sister to our family. Young Master Scarlet Leaf smiled. She's willing to follow me, so of course I won't refuse. Don't be angry, Xiao Man. You should know that I like you both equally. The girl named Xiao Man wrinkled her nose and turned her head away. But it was obvious that she wasn't really angry. She was just throwing a tantrum. On the chariot, a shy girl suddenly said, Lang Jun is going to the 100 Herb sect to look for the Renyuan panacea. I wonder if the Renyuan panacea can cure this sister. The cold woman in the palace dress frowned slightly. Xiao Rou, be careful with your words. Don't say these things in front of outsiders. The girl named Xiao Rou nodded shyly. She looked like a frightened rabbit. I'm sorry, big sister. The smile of the woman in the palace dress was like the thawing of an iceberg. She held Xiao Rou in her arms and smiled. Silly girl, of course I know you didn't mean it. Are you kidding me? Lin Feng, who was above the clouds, was dumbfounded. The harem is so harmonious. Who are you kidding? For a moment, Lin Feng really wanted to worship this young Master Scarlet Leaf as his teacher. Not for anything else, but for the fact that this brother of his could have a big, good, and harmonious harem. Only then did young Master Scarlet Leaf talk to Xiang Laniying's companions. This girl was poisoned because of me. It is my duty to save her. After she is out of danger, I will send her back to your sect. The old man in the white robe and the others looked at each other and nodded. Thank you, young master. The two young men looked sad. Looking at young Master Scarlet Leaf on the chariot, they both looked ashamed of their inferiority. Obviously, they also admired Xiang Laniying, who was beautiful and elegant. But after meeting young Master Scarlet Leaf, they could only end up in tragedy. Young Master Scarlet Leaf nodded and put away the 7 Evils dragon-slaying sword, the magnetic yin-yang mirror, and the dragon-trapping lasso. The 4 brontosaurus horses neighed loudly and strode forward with their huge iron hooves. Accompanied by wind and thunder, they pulled the chariot, which was the size of a small city tower, and broke through the clouds, disappearing in the blink of an eye. Only the earth-shattering sound of thunder could be heard as the chariot gradually faded away. What a flashy arrival and flashy departure! Lin Feng did not hurry to follow. Instead, he stood where he was, his expression uncertain. What puzzled him was that the talent detector showed young Master Scarlet Leaf's various values. Everything else was fine, but the key was his luck. This young Master Scarlet Leaf's luck was only 5. Is the detector malfunctioning? Lin Feng's mind was filled with question marks. Young Master Scarlet Leaf, who was full of treasures and had a harem, only had 5 luck. He was only in the late stage of the Foundation establishment realm, and he had at least 3 golden elixir artifacts with him, as well as the Blue Thunder Chariot, which had combat power comparable to a golden elixir artifact. No matter how he looked at it, Zhu Yi, who had full luck, was not as arrogant as him. While Lin Feng was puzzled, he suddenly found something even more strange. After the thunder of the Blue Thunder Chariot disappeared completely, the old man in the white robe and the others looked at each other and smiled. The old man in the white robe did not say anything. He just waved his hand and left quickly. The other 4 followed closely behind him. They left in the direction that Daoist Taimu had escaped to. Chasing after Daoist Taimu? I don't think so. No matter how weak the fallen phoenix is, it's not something that they can take advantage of. Lin Feng frowned and followed them decisively. After chasing for dozens of miles, the old man in the white robe and the others entered a small valley together. Lin Feng entered the small valley and saw that there were already people waiting for the old man in the white robe and the others. The one in the lead was Daoist Taimu. Behind him were his 2 remaining disciples. At this moment, Daoist Taimu's face was ashen. His originally dark face was pale. Young Master Scarlet Leaf had broken his natal artifact, the 5 elements Een Wind Sword, and it had indeed caused him great harm. But at this moment, Daoist Taimu's expression was calm, without the slightest anger or frustration. He calmly watched the old man in the white robe and the others enter the valley. When the old man in the white robe saw him, he did not show any fear or hatred. Instead, he cupped his fists and bowed. Daoist. Seeing this, how could Lin Feng not understand the truth? This Daoist Taimu was in cahoots with the old man in the white robe. Everything that happened before was all an act. They were setting up a trap for others to jump into. And young Master Scarlet Leaf was obviously the one who fell into the trap. How is it? Is it going well? Daoist Taimu asked calmly. The old man in the white robe answered, Lanning has been taken away by him. It should not have aroused any suspicion. It is going well. Daoist Taimu nodded and looked worried. Lanning is outstanding, but young Master Scarlet Leaf is surrounded by beautiful women. It will not be easy to succeed. The old man in the white robe and the others also nodded with worried faces. We have to try our best. The old man in the white robe sighed. Daoist Taimu waved his sleeve and said, You can leave now. The old man in the white robe and the others left. Daoist Taimu stood where he was and murmured to himself, We have to succeed after paying such a big price. I have to get the Renyuan Jin Dan of the 100 Herbs sect. Thinking of the Renyuan Jin Dan, Daoist Taimu's eyes suddenly burned with passion. Well, what is the Renyuan Jin Dan you are talking about? At this moment, a voice suddenly came from beside them. Daoist Taimu was shocked. Lin Feng's figure appeared in the air, looking at him with a curious expression. Daoist Taimu shouted, Who are you? Lin Feng shook his head and said, Who I am is not important. What is important is, what is the Renyuan Jin Dan that you are trying to get from that young Master Scarlet Leaf? Daoist Taimu's face turned pale. He spread his hands and the rolling dark clouds covered Lin Feng. If you fight with me, you won't have the slightest chance. Lin Feng's expression was indifferent. Because right now, you're too close to me. Daoist Taimu was alarmed. The strong sense of danger almost made his soul jump out of his body. At this moment, he had no time to suppress his injuries. He hurriedly tried to increase his power. However, But Lin Feng suddenly moved at this moment. His body flashed, so fast that he only left a series of afterimages in Daoist Taimu's eyes. Just as Lin Feng said, the distance between them was too close for his avatar of the god of war. When the word, close, came out, Lin Feng had already punched. Before the word, close, was finished, Lin Feng had already pulled back his fist. Lin Feng stood there calmly, as if he had never moved. Daoist Taimu stared at his chest. To be exact, he was staring at the big hole in his chest that was punched by Lin Feng. Chapter 156. Taimu stared dumbfoundedly at the bloody hole in his chest. Only now did he understand what Lin Feng meant when he said that the two of them were too close. Taimu's body slowly fell to the ground. His internal organs were all destroyed by Lin Feng's punch. His body was already in a state of death. I have the cultivation of the early golden elixir realm. Although I don't specialize in physical magic, my physical body was destroyed by a single punch. How high is this person's cultivation? Taimu was terrified. A golden light shot out from the center of his forehead and floated into the distance. He had attached his soul to the golden elixir and tried to escape. Of course, Lin Feng wouldn't let him escape. He pointed out with his finger, and the power that contained the netherworld nirvana spell instantly locked onto Taimu's soul. Earlier, Priest Taimu had already been severely wounded in the battle against Mr. Red Leaf. Now, he was severely wounded by Lin Feng. His soul had been severely wounded. Right now, he could only obediently let Lin Feng capture him and turn him into a puppet with the netherworld puppet controlling art. Lin Feng smiled, Can you tell me now? Daoist Taimu didn't want to say it, but this was not up to him. He could only tell Lin Feng everything he knew. Recently, a piece of news suddenly spread in the 100 Herbs sect near Mount Changchun in the Great Hunduan mountain range. The 100 Herbs sect's ancestor developed a strange pill called the Rinyuan Jindan. It was said that this pill could help foundation-building cultivators form the golden elixir and advance to the golden elixir period. If a cultivator in the golden elixir period took it, he might be able to improve the quality of his golden elixir. It was said that the Rinyuan Jindan would be ready soon, which was why Taimu wanted it. As for Mr. Red Leaf, he obviously heard about it and went to the 100 Herbs sect. Lin Feng frowned. If the 100 Herbs sect has such a pill, doesn't that mean they can mass-produce cultivators in the golden elixir period? This was an extremely terrifying thing. For ordinary sects, the golden elixir period was the core of the sect. Sects like the Hangyu sect and the Xian Dao sect only had one Yuanying ancestor. The sect master and elders were only in the golden elixir period. Even in large sects like the Wilderness Sword sect, Celerita's Sword sect, and Blaze Sword sect, during the golden elixir period they are still the pillars of the sect, the backbone of the sect. If the 100 Herbs sect could mass-produce golden elixir period cultivators with pills, then it would be an extremely terrifying matter. On the other hand, would the other sects, especially the local tyrant of the Great Transverse Mountain, the Wilderness Sword sect, sit back and watch the 100 Herbs sect rise under their noses? Lin Feng raised his doubts and Taoist Taimu answered honestly, I heard that the Wilderness Sword sect specially sent people to the 100 Herbs sect to investigate. The final conclusion was that the Rinyuan panacea is completely fake and is a rumor. But we would rather believe it than not, so we still have to plan as much as possible. If there really is a Rinyuan panacea, then we can think of a way to get it. Lin Feng nodded his head and did not say anything more. He put Taoist Taimu into the black cloud flag and continued to fly towards the eternal spring mountain on a black light. No matter whether the Rinyuan panacea is real or not, at least the breathing soil is something that Lin Feng is determined to get. The Eternal Spring Mountain is located at the southern end of the Great Transverse Mountain. It is like spring all year round and the climate is excellent. Further south, the climate will be extremely hot and the north of the Eternal Spring Mountain will be abnormally cold. Being sandwiched between the hot and cold climate, there are many rare and precious elixirs here. Lin Feng landed in the lush Eternal Spring Mountain and found a mountain stream according to Qin Gang's instructions. He walked along the mountain stream and soon came to a karst cave. The karst cave is extremely huge, with countless forks in the underground part, extending in all directions. It is not so much a karst cave as a huge underground palace. Entering the karst cave, Lin Feng went deep to search, but the result disappointed him. After searching the whole karst cave, Lin Feng only found a little bit of the breathing soil, which is less than the amount seized from Qin Gang's still water flag. What's going on here? Lin Feng grabbed Qin Gang's soul expressionlessly and said, I remember you said that the breathing soil you took to refine the still water flag was only a drop in the bucket. Qin Gang said helplessly, I did take a very small part. Maybe someone else found this place and took all the breathing soil away. Lin Feng frowned slightly and was about to ask again when a voice suddenly came from the entrance of the karst cave. Who is it? Lin Feng calmly took back Qin Gang's soul, turned around and saw two cultivators dressed in blue standing at the entrance of the karst cave, looking at him with vigilance. These two people were only at the qi refining stage. They could not see through Lin Feng's cultivation level, but intuitively felt that Lin Feng's cultivation level was above them, so although they were vigilant, they did not dare to provoke Lin Feng in the slightest. Lin Feng smiled. I heard that there is a strange soil here, called the breathing soil, which can grow on its own and never diminish, so I came to see it. He turned his head and looked around. But, there doesn't seem to be any. Before coming to Eternal Spring Mountain, Lin Feng had also made some preparations, and recognized the clothes of the two qi refining cultivators. It was the uniform of the cultivators of the 100 Herbs sect. The two qi refining cultivators looked at each other, and one of them looked at Lin Feng with vigilance. Sir, Did you come here to obtain the breathing soil? Lin Feng's heart was slightly moved, and he smiled. Not at all. I was purely curious, and just wanted to see it. I cultivate in water Dao techniques, and earth can subdue water. I won't find trouble for myself. As he spoke, Lin Feng waved his hand, and several water arrows hit the stalactites beside him, shattering them. His 8 trigrams of the Great Way of the Heavens comprehended the true meaning of creation, and it could create all things. Condensing a few water arrows was a small matter. Seeing this, the hostility of the 2 qi refining cultivators decreased by half, and one of them smiled. Sir, you came at a bad time. The breathing soil in the cave has already been taken away by the ancestor of the 100 Herbs sect. Lin Feng's heart skipped a beat. The so-called ancestor was naturally the 100 Herbs sect's Yuanying expert, the 100 Herbs sect's ancestor. Speaking of which, the 100 Herbs sect was famous for concocting medicine and pills. The sect's Dao techniques and divine abilities were not good at attacking and killing enemies. Generally speaking, the cultivators of the 100 Herbs sect would use refined panaceas to draw out the essence of the panaceas to create various spells and divine abilities. Their healing and recovery abilities were very strong, and they could also refine strong poisons to hurt and defend the enemy. But overall, their pure combat strength was weaker than cultivators of the same realm. Even so, the 100 Herbs sect was a solid Yuanying cultivator, and it was said that he had already formed his nascent soul nearly 1,000 years ago. Lin Feng's current cultivation level was at the early stage of the golden elixir. If he stayed at Mount Yujing, he was confident that he could resist a Yuanying cultivator attacking the mountain with the help of the cyclic purple qi and the yin and yang life and death formation. But if he were to rush head-on into the enemy's lair and fight against a Yuanying expert, that would be asking for trouble. Besides, other than the 100 Herbs sect's ancestor, there must be a certain number of golden elixir elders in the 100 Herbs sect. Usually, Lin Feng would not care, but if he were to fight the 100 Herbs sect's ancestor, even the slightest counterweight could tip the balance of the scales. Lin Feng's mind raced, but he did not show the slightest emotion on his face. He smiled and shook his head. That's too bad. I wanted to see that strange soil that can grow on its own. The 2 qi refining cultivators of the 100 Herbs sect both laughed. Seeing it might not be good. Just as you said, this living soil can almost be considered the nemesis of water-type Dao techniques. Lin Feng smiled noncommittally and walked out of the karst cave. When he passed by the 2 qi refining cultivators, he suddenly said in a seemingly unintentional manner, "By the way, I heard that the Rinyuan Jindan refined by your sect is about to come out. I wonder how it is. When exactly will it come out?" Lin Feng was deliberately beating the grass to startle the snake. Since the Wilderness Sword sect had come to inquire, the 100 Herbs sect should naturally know that some internal information had been leaked. Therefore, Lin Feng was not afraid that they would be on guard. On the contrary, Lin Feng deliberately beat the grass to startle the snake. The more the other party did, the more likely it was that they would make a mistake. Once they failed to deal with it, they would expose their flaws to Lin Feng. Lin Feng did not care about the Rinyuan Jindan, but the living soil was the key. Who knew that when the 2 qi condensation cultivators heard Lin Feng's question, they looked at each other, both with blank expressions. Our 100 Herbs sect has never had the Rinyuan Jindan. Where did you hear the rumor? Maybe I made a mistake. Lin Feng carefully observed their expressions. There was no panic or vigilance, only confusion. It did not seem that they were faking it. They really did not know anything. Their cultivation level is too low to know about this information. Lin Feng slightly frowned, but soon denied this guess. No, if it was really leaked by someone inside the 100 Herbs sect, it must have spread in our own sect first. If that was the case, it was impossible that the 2 cultivators did not know anything about it. If the news about the Rinyuan Jindan was a rumor, then it would be fine. If it was true, then things would be interesting. The information that even the disciples of the 100 Herbs sect did not know was actually spread all over the sky in the outside world. Lin Feng walked out of the karst cave, his eyes flashing. Someone outside the 100 Herbs sect got the news about the Rinyuan Jindan and spread the news. That is to say, whether the Rinyuan Jindan is real or not, someone wants to harm the 100 Herbs sect. In this case, there was still a chance for Lin Feng to fish in troubled waters. After leaving the karst cave, Lin Feng climbed to the top of a mountain and looked to the south. There was a steep and dangerous mountain that went straight into the sea of clouds. It was the main peak of the Eternal Spring Mountain, the 100 Herbs sect's base. The Eternal Spring Mountain was surrounded by clouds. Lin Feng took a deep breath from afar and felt the light power of the medicine spread to his limbs and bones. The 100 Herbs sect was indeed famous for making elixirs and medicines. The clouds around the main peak were all transformed by the medicine aura of the spiritual herbs and spiritual medicines. It would be better to go in and see what is going on. As Lin Feng was thinking, he suddenly felt something. Looking back, he saw more than a dozen sword lights flying from afar. Their target was the Eternal Spring Mountain. The sword lights were colorful, but they all faintly revealed a sense of desolation. The Wilderness Sword Sect. Perfect timing. Lin Feng's heart moved. He had an idea. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.